colors. Please remain standing as Michael White offers today's invocation.
Our Heavenly Father, we honor you today, and we are so thankful for this beautiful day you have given us. We ask your eyes to be on Chicagoland today and to give us safety, to protect the teams, the drivers, Lord, to be with our first responders, dear God, and just your hand will be with them. Lord, we ask you to be with those that have went through the recent tragedies of the hurricane and be with them and provide for them. We honor you as the God who created all and our Savior. We ask these things in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Here to perform our national anthem, please welcome Nashville recording artist Kelsey Hickman.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
It's an equal opportunity sport from a 19-year-old to a 59-year-old. They will be on the track, 40 drivers strong, for this, the final race of the regular season. For a few, it will end after today, at least their playoff hopes. Those that are above the playoff bubble at the end of today's race will be all smiles, but those that are below, their chances of a championship will end today. Now let's go down to pit road and Dave Burns.
So Rick, not yet locked into the playoffs, is Brendan Gaughan. He starts 19th today, but don't read too much into that. He was a top 5 car in the opening practice of the weekend, and his crew said he had a pretty decent practice yesterday. Brendan just needs a solid day today, Kelly.
Well, just behind Brendan Gaughan, both on the grid and in the standings, is the 28 of Dakota Armstrong, but he has 25 points to make up if he's going to get his way into the playoffs. A tall order indeed. He told me this team's got to have everything go right, and they've got to hope for some miscues from both the 62 and the 5 of Mike Lynette. He starts 20th, feels like he has an 18th place car, but they hope to make some adjustments and get better throughout the day.
Kelly, Ross Chastain comes into this race 70 points out of making it into the playoffs. It's going to take a miracle, he said, to find himself in the playoffs. But some good news for him, his family's watermelon farm in Fort Myers, Florida, got hit by Hurricane Irma, but everyone was fine. They're rebuilding the farm now. So miracles do happen, and maybe he can go out there and make that miracle happen on the racetrack to get himself in the playoffs, Marty.
Parker Michael Lynette also not locked in the playoffs, but does have a 26-point cushion as of right now over that cut line for that final spot here in the 2017 playoffs. Talked to his crew chief, Jason Stockert, a moment ago. He said, I came into this race thinking we were going to have to call it very conservatively, but we honestly had our best practice of the year yesterday, so I think we have a shot to win this race. If we get that chance, Rick, he told me, I'm going to go for it. I'm not going to worry about these points.
Yeah, some have different goals in mind. Some think they have to win the race. Others are looking at maybe momentum. If they can win the race with the playoff points that will be added, that will give them the momentum to potentially catapult them all the way to Homestead Miami Speedway, where the championship will be decided. So it's a very pivotal race today here at Chicagoland as it ends the regular season, and the 12 drivers that will fight for the title will be determined. It's time to fire the engines. Let's go trackside.
And now for the most famous words in motorsports, please welcome your Grand Marshal, Chief Executive Officer of thehouse.com, John Magnuson.
Drivers, start your engines!
Okay, I'll open up here. Okay, crew, everybody, before we get going here. It's the new season right here. Gotcha, man.
And that's what we've been waiting for. The engines are fired. 300 miles of racing from Chicagoland coming up next. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Ford. We go further so you can. Credit One Bank, the official credit card of NASCAR. And by Cologuard. Learn more at cologuardtest.com. Beautiful.
I've never felt a pressure like that. That's what the playoffs do. You know, it just raises the intensity level and makes you perform better.
One race to go before the playoffs start. Only 12 will make it.
Everybody's got the same opportunity, so you're going to have to push yourself harder and harder.
Guys will drive over you in a heartbeat, driving over their head. It's definitely chaos.
And cars starting to roll now off of the grid as we will take a look at the grid. On the front row, Eric Jones and Daniel Suarez. Jones's first pole of this year. He won his last 2 starts at this racetrack.
Well, 2 of today's favorites make up row 2, Kyle Larson and Ryan Blaney. 13 total Xfinity wins between the 2 of them.
In row 3, we have Cole Custer and Elliott Sadler. Elliott Sadler is our regular season champion.
Back in row 4, it's Matt Tifft and William Byron. William Byron, the 19-year-old, looking to add his 17 playoff points.
Yeah, row 5 has 2 Xfinity regulars that are both locked in the playoffs. This will be the last race without the pressure, Rick. It'll fire up next week.
In row 6, we have Blake Cook and Brendan Poole. Brendan Poole solidly in. Blake Cook, he's pretty much in. Just has to have a solid day.
Back in row 7, it's Austin Dillon and Justin Allgaier, the 31-year-old from Riverton, Illinois. Won here back in 2011.
Brandon Jones and Darrell Wallace Jr. make up row 8. Got to be bittersweet for Darrell Wallace Jr. He was 4th in points when his team shut down back in the spring, back in the Xfinity Series. First start since June.
In row 9, we have Ty Dillon and Michael Annett. Michael Annett, 26 points to the good from the cut line.
Interesting, row 10, you have Brendan Gaughan and Dakota Armstrong. They are the 2 drivers that are on either side of the cutoff line. Let's see if we can chat with Brendan Gaughan. We'll dial him up on the radio.
Hey, Brendan, Jeff Burton, NBCSN booth, you got us?
Gotcha, Mr. Burton.
Well, you're starting further back than you wanted to. You got blocked in qualifying. Tell us what kind of car you got.
We got a good race car for there. Our Chevrolet was much better than 19th, but the main thing is, Jeff, we just got to be smart with South Point Chevy, and I said it earlier, some days me and smart don't go in the same sentence, but we're going to try to turn over a new leaf today. We're just going to race that 28 in the 5, make sure we stay in a playoff spot, head on to Kentucky, go back for W's.
Well, you mentioned just matching what those guys do. Does that mean you'll even use their pit strategy? If you see them try to do something unique, you'll just match that, or are you guys just going to race your own race?
Well, you know what's great about being me is I don't have to make those calls. I got a guy in that box that I've been with a long time and trust a lot, so that's his job. He gets paid the big bucks for that.
All right, we'll be watching. Good luck, guys.
Thank you, everybody. Have fun watching today.
He was referring to Shane Wilson, the crew chief for the 62 team, and they have been together for quite some time and have had great success.
Yeah, we'll be riding along with Brendan Gaughan today with the U.S. Cellular onboard camera.
Yeah, here's Bubba Wallace Jr. in the Ford Performance camera.
He has that helmet cam that is just so cool. What a view right off the helmet of the driver. And you mentioned it, Jeff. Regular season champion, Elliott Sadler. He'll have the Chevy onboard camera. Looking for a good run, a little momentum heading into the playoffs.
And our pole sitter, I think a guy everybody would consider to be the favorite, Eric Jones, with a Toyota in-car camera.
Take a look at Chicagoland and the Speedway. The numbers, 200 laps, 300 miles.
Yeah, and the first and the second stage both at 45 laps. The final stage 110 laps, so much longer. Pit road speed 45, and that fuel window 50 to 56 laps.
And Steve, they'll be crying for tires when they get there. This racetrack eats tires up, so you get that far on fuel, these cars are going to be driving badly.
7 races in the playoffs and a little bit of a diverse background as far as tracks go. We take a look at round 1, the round of 12, the playoff tracks.
Yeah, and they're 1.5 miles heavy every round. This one has Kentucky and Charlotte with the high bank monster mile of Dover right in the middle.
Move on to the round of 8.
Yeah, Kansas, Texas, 2 more fast racetracks, and then a 1-mile trial over at Phoenix.
And then it all ends up at Homestead Miami Speedway, another 1.5 mile track. That's why 1.5 miles so important, especially when you end the regular season on this racetrack.
Yeah, that's why this race is so important. You're going to gauge yourself right now today to understand where you are. A lot of people compare this racetrack a little bit to Miami Homestead just because the asphalt's worn out on both of them. It's hard on tires. So this is a great place to gauge yourself, to understand if you need to be better moving into the playoffs.
And the green flag will come out after they go around one more time. Before it happens, let's go back to pit road. Dave Burns.
Rick, Matt Tifft has made the playoffs, clinched that is, based on the points and how he's run this year. The one thing he doesn't have is a win. But on his side, Joe Gibbs Racing on 1.5 mile tracks, 4 of the last 6 have been won by JGR drivers. Kelly?
William Byron's already a 3-time winner this season, but racing here at Chicagoland for the first time in an Xfinity Series car has not held him back. He hit the ground running in practice, qualified well inside the top 10. Their objective today, collect 5 more bonus points for the playoffs. Parker?
Justin Allgaier's locked in the playoffs, virtue of a win at Phoenix earlier this year, but he's got a little bit of extra motivation this week. It's his home race. He grew up in Riverton, Illinois, just a couple hours from here, and also it's the home race for his sponsor, Brandt. As you see him go down the backstretch there, Brandt is all around this racetrack. They've got approaching 300 people here in attendance to cheer him on, Marty.
Parker, we heard Jeff say a moment ago this surface very similar to Homestead, Miami. Talked to Kevin Mendring, the crew chief for our regular season champ, Elliott Sadler, and that is what their agenda is today. Learn something from Chicago that they think might help them in the championship race. Well, they hope they're in that championship 4, Rick. If they can learn something today, might be a key to winning the championship in 2017.
Thanks, Marty. One of the amazing statistics is no Xfinity Series regular has won on a 1.5 mile track this year. Well, it could change today. We have the 1.5 mile that ends up the regular season. Out in front, Eric Jones, Daniel Suarez. Making up row 1. Green flag is in the air. Eric Jones in the 20, Daniel Suarez in the 18. Jones jumps out to the lead. Suarez running second. Right behind them, Kyle Larson in the 42.
You can see already, Rick, that this racetrack has multiple grooves. Taking off, you're going to want to be on the bottom because it's the fastest way, shortest way around the racetrack. But in just a few laps, you're going to move up the racetrack looking for grip.
Both have mentioned the fact that this is a bumpy racetrack, and sometimes you don't get to choose the line you run because of running side by side with someone else, as we're seeing right now. A fight for position here between the two of Austin Dillon and Daniel Hemrick in the 21. Both cars, the 2 and 21, out of Richard Childress Racing. As we see the 42 of Kyle Larson trying to make the move on the inside. Not able to get by the 18 of Suarez.
And that's where those options, those multiple lines that you talked about, Jeff, actually make it difficult with someone like Kyle Larson. He had position at most racetracks on the bottom, but that middle lane afforded the opportunity for the 18 to stay in the gas as we see the 42 of the big wiggle off turn 4.
Ryan Blaney taking advantage of that in the 22, closed the gap now and all over the back bumper of that 42.
Yeah, Ryan Blaney saw how loose the 42 was, so Ryan wants to get as close as he can to the back of that car, take the air off the spoiler, take advantage of it like he just did.
42 moved way up the racetrack. Take a look at this.
Brendan Gaughan said that his goal was to just run and try to match the performance of the 5 of Michael Annett and the 28 of Dakota Armstrong. But that becomes more difficult back here in traffic. I really think that is Dakota Armstrong's chance, is to see one of those 2 cars right there on screen. Either Michael Annett or Brendan Gaughan have trouble and have trouble early before any points are awarded in the stage. That might be the window of opportunity the 28 needs to advance into the playoffs.
So, Steve, back in this position, Brendan Gaughan has one of the busiest spotters on the roof right now, who just told him he's not clear of the 5 car of Michael Annett. That's the veteran Stevie Reeves. So this is the hardest part of the race right now, in my opinion, for them, because they're back in the pack trying to make sure they don't have any fender contact with the drivers coming through.
Yeah, Dave, and clearly these 2 guys don't want contact. I mean, both of these guys are in without a problem as long as they don't have any issues. So these guys racing side by side, they want to avoid contact with each other.
And avoid problems. As you mentioned, we heard Dakota Armstrong say, I'll need help. I can run my best race, but I'm still going to need help to get into the playoffs. And that help would come in a problem for either the 62 or the 5.
Yeah, but the 28 of Dakota Armstrong also kind of needs to help himself. So if we're looking at these two cars battling right here, this is for 17th and 18th. Well, here's Dakota Armstrong back in 22nd. So this goes back to what we talked about at the top of the show. Dakota is going to have to find a way to run inside the top 10, at best the top 15, to think he'll have a chance. Currently in the 22nd position. The 62 and the 5 at this point, Jeff, don't really have to score any points because the 28 hasn't made up enough ground.
Yeah, I think Dakota Armstrong's got to play some kind of crazy strategy to earn points within, you know, the early part of the races. He needs to earn points early. I don't think he can wait till late. So maybe at the end of one of these stages, try to get on pit road, do something strange, and try to steal some points in some form or fashion.
And again, the only way you can get points in the middle of the race is be a part of the top 10 in the stages. So stage 1 and stage 2, there's 38 to go in stage 1. Again, a 45 lap stage 1 as we see Daniel Hemrick making the move up to the inside of that 33 of Brandon Jones.
So the opportunities that are allowed at this racetrack is restart. So watch Daniel Hemrick all the way on the bottom. Matt Tiff with a great big block, but we're going to see this more and more. You're trying to force the issue, make something happen on these restarts. The apron of the racetrack is wide open, and you're going to see people using it.
And it's not off bounds. I know when the series travels to either Daytona or Talladega, you can't go below the line at the bottom of the track. Here you can. Everywhere is fair game.
If it's paved, you can use it. Heck, if it's grass, you can use it, but I wouldn't suggest it. That'd be a little hard on equipment.
Brennan Poole in the 48 also trying to make the pass on Brendan Jones. It's Daniel Hemrick in the 21 who's made the move by the 33. Daniel Hemrick currently running in the 11th spot, just outside the top 10. Out front, though, Eric Jones has already built up a 2-second lead over Daniel Suarez, who's running second. NASCAR Drive is NASCAR.com's live race day companion. It's now available on your mobile device. You can select your favorite camera, angle, or driver with in-car video. You can even watch multiple angles at once. You never have to miss a lap with NASCAR Drive. You visit NASCAR.com/drive from your PC, tablet, or mobile device. Still out front, it's Eric Jones, has almost a 3-second lead now over Ryan Blaney, who's moved up into the 2nd spot, and Suarez has fallen all the way down to 5th. Parker.
Well, guys, how about that 00 car? Cole Custer right now, the highest running Xfinity regular. He was also the highest qualifying Xfinity regular in 5th place. He's driven up into 3rd with a bit of a tight condition at this time, especially over the bumps in 3 and 4, although it's starting to loosen up. But a lot of people are keeping their eyes on this race team because they have turned up the wick as they come towards the playoffs right now. And I think there's something that the rest of the team should pay attention to, is also that this team has been testing things out. Right now, they told me as they went in this race, they're doing a couple things they haven't done before this year to see if they can get better, to see what works. And that's what these teams are doing to hopefully be better in the playoffs. And this, right now you're seeing it's working for that 00, Dave.
And of course, Parker, he's passed the 42 car of Kyle Larson right behind him, but Larson has him in his sights to get that spot back. The trouble for Kyle right now, as he threads the needle there under the 25 of Cockrum, is that the car is just a little bit free. It over-rotates in the middle of the corner, and he says the entry right there is a little twitchy, not something you want here. Marty?
And Dave, we're really starting to see these lap times slow down, and one car certainly slowing down. Daniel Suarez, see how far back he's fallen now. Remember, he started on the front row today in 5th. Right now, Suarez saying the car extremely loose, and a very rare thing for this 18 team. They said the car was not very good in practice yesterday, so massive changes overnight and this morning trying to make it better, but clearly have not gone the right direction, Kelly.
Well, just behind him is Elliott Sadler. He started this one 6th. That's where he continues to run. Today, remember, he clinched the regular season championship last week, so as his crew chief, Kevin Mendering, told me, hey, we've got nothing to lose. We can afford to be a bit aggressive here. Hopefully, we'll have the speed to win. If not, we'll try our hand at some strategy. There's enough tires to do some options. Right now, Elliott saying that the center of his car's, center of the turns, really good, a little bit tight getting into the center, loose on exit. Sounds like they may make some adjustments when it comes to pit road.
And Rick, we're going to hear that conversation about tires. We've heard it from a few crew chiefs now, some reports about them. So these teams have 5 sets of tires in their pits. They started on a set as well, so 6 sets total to run the race. That's like a set more than we normally see. Normally they have 4 in their pits, so it's funny though, every crew chief is going to use that extra set of tires. That's going to be the answer to their strategy, but we will see perhaps some differing strategies with that extra set.
Extra set of tires if the cautions fall. So they know that they're going to have a caution at the end of stage 1 and stage 2, but other than that, they don't know when the cautions will fall, but they will have to come in that 3rd and final stage to come for fuel at least.
Yeah, and I put the over-under for yellows. You know, if you look at the average, it's about 5, 5.5 is where we should see the yellows, somewhere between 5 and 6. So these drivers are going to have to maybe get a little lucky for their strategy to work.
Yeah, Parker Clearman was talking to us about the 00, Cole Custer, and we see the 42 of Kyle Larson's gotten by Custer, and I think this is a great opportunity for a young driver to go to learn to switch lanes, because that's what Kyle Larson did. He changed what he was doing, found a way to get around Cole Custer. Now Cole Custer's got to do that same thing to find a way around the 22 of Blaney. So there's an education process going on with Cole Custer. He has a great foundation which to build on, but every race that he runs and he gets a chance to race against these Cup guys, it makes him better.
There's definitely an education going on, and it's not just up front. It's back here as well. The 62 of Brendan Gaughan and the 16 of Ryan Reed. Interesting in qualifying between those two drivers.
Well, Jeff, you mentioned it in your question to Brendan Gaughan about being blocked in. Well, here it is. Brendan is leaving pit road to make a run to go try to qualify, and Ryan Reed comes driving around him and takes the spot on the racetrack. So then after the lap, a little flyby by Brendan Gaughan to let him know that he was not happy, and then just to prove a point, he walked down pit road and kind of stuck his head in the window and have a little conversation.
Some more education taking place.
You know, to be honest, I'm surprised that doesn't happen more often.
Yeah. With
this group qualifying, and you know, you can go whenever you can go. I'm surprised more people don't have those kind of altercations.
Now, fellas, I heard a little bit more on the Brendan Gaughan side of this story. I had no idea that Brendan raced Ryan's dad, Mark, for what was the Winston West Championship back in the day. And he told me their relationship was a little bit frosty. So just adding to the fire now, this deal with Ryan today.
It's a family affair.
Never forget.
Yeah. Brendan Gaughan has made the move from, he used to race off-road and trucks. Then he was part of the Winston West program in its infancy. Then moved into the Truck Series, had success at the Truck Series, won multiple races, and now has been through the Xfinity Series, has raced at the Cup level, now once again fighting for a Xfinity Series championship.
Yeah, Steve, as we show the 00 Cole Custer, I think the other thing, and you can probably speak about this better than I can because you've been on the other side of it, is as a young driver, understanding how this racetrack's going to change. Cole Custer telling his team, okay, this is what my car is doing, but what is it going to be doing later? So right now it may be too tight, but the track's going to free up, or the other way around, and that's something that you can only experience. The only thing that you can get that through is time, and again, that's just the process of education going on with Cole Custer.
Hey, Jeff, I found it interesting just a couple laps ago when you were saying he should follow that 42 and learn from him. That's exactly what his spotter told him to do. He said, hey, look, that 42 in front of you has a couple cup practices of experience on this racetrack today. He knows the line, and therefore, when the 42 went by, he said, look at what he does and try to mimic it. It's exactly what you were saying, and that's what he's trying to do here, and he was able to do that and get by that 22.
And already it's Eric Jones, Kyle Larson, and Cole Custer, the top three. Want to listen in on spotter communication from the one team.
Little run coming, one back, half back, looking low, inside by himself, you and him. Larson's starting to make up a little time there, moving up in 1 and 2. Bottom still seems to be the place to be down here. 70 that lap. Leader run a 40, 70's behind you too.
And that's spotter coverage presented by Liberty Mutual Insurance, helping drivers worry less.
Yeah, a lot of responsibilities on the roof for a spotter, much more than just getting your car through traffic. You heard helping his car through traffic, then explaining where Kyle Larson was running. High, so he means up closer to the wall in 1 and 2. The bottom, which is closer to the apron of the racetrack in 3 and 4. And then on top of that, we're going to throw some lap times out. That was a 70 or an 80 to try to give the driver, but we see William Byron in the 9 car off the pace here.
Slowing on the racetrack, and William Byron.
Popping in and out of gear, won't go in gear at all.
Transmission problem.
Okay, William, coming down pit road, fellas. Come down pit road.
These are the types of mistakes that the 9 of William Byron can absolutely get away with
no
here.
No oil pressure at all.
And no oil pressure. They have multiple issues on the 9, but this mistake, or this mechanical issue, perhaps is a better thing to call it, can be acceptable here in the last race of the regular season, but these are the types of mistakes that when you get in the playoffs will completely take you out of it. Even with 3 wins, there's no guarantees he's going to continue to move forward through the rounds.
Yeah, with no oil pressure, I know that he said he couldn't get it in gear, but with no oil pressure, that tells me right now. It's a major engine issue that has caused other issues.
Now it's back into white, but it was red for a whole lap.
So they will try to find out what is exactly wrong with William Byron's Xfinity car, as it continues to be a dominant performance by Eric Jones, who's out front. He's led all 30 laps up to this point. Catch all the action of NASCAR on NBC with the NBC Sports app. You can get closer with alternate camera angles, driver stats, and track information. You're watching coverage of thehouse.com 300. Actually, you're watching a beautiful boat out there in the water, but the 9 struggling. And here's what they had to say on the radio about what the issue was.
The gears are real soft, and it's got a bunch of noises going on right now. 10-4. Doesn't have gears left. Bring it back around. We'll change the transmission. Yeah, it's popping out of gear. Got to come back to you.
So you ask yourself, why would they change a transmission? They're in the playoffs. Why not just put the car on the truck? Well, we talked about this, and Jeff, you talked about the surface in this racetrack and how it is very similar to Miami. And with the lack of track time, I think the 9 wants to get whatever the mechanical issues repaired to get back on the racetrack just to make laps, to see which way the track goes, maybe how their car drives, see how their lap time compares. But it's just never the same. Laps are never the same as just out there racing. So this is definitely going to hurt the 9. If he's fortunate enough to make it to Miami, we'll have to remember this day that he was not able to run all the laps here in Chicago.
As Erik Jones now only has a 9/10 of a second lead over Kyle Larson, so about 2 seconds have been knocked off of the lead that he had. You see that gap continuing to close. Kyle Larson running a little better line and able to reel in the 20 of Erik Jones.
So only 7 laps to go before the end of the stage. You mentioned it, Larson has run him down. Fastest car on the racetrack pretty much every lap.
I'm not sure the reason, but Kyle Larson just seems to be one of the most successful drivers of running right around the top, the rim. Like if this was a bowl, think of the rim of the bowl. That's where these cars are running. They are up above that last paving seam. Look at that. 4 tires on what you don't even think is part of the groove, and that is a slide by that 42 car. But it's just something, a characteristic. Jeff, would you consider yourself like a bottom driver, a top driver in your career? Was there one lane that you just thought you had more success at?
I was better on the bottom for sure. There's no question about that. But as the 20 of Erik Jones goes around the 28, remember we talked about the 28 of Dakota Armstrong trying to get himself into that last playoff berth. So going a lap down early in this race is not going to help his cause.
Here in stage 1, and Armstrong has gone a lap down. There are only 19 cars on the lead lap. Erik Jones has really set a blistering pace. Kyle Larson continuing to try to close the gap. It's about 0.8 of a second. We mentioned the number of laps are winding down. Only 5 laps to go in this first stage.
Well, people talk about Cup drivers in the Xfinity Series, but you can't replace experience. So put yourself in Erik Jones' seat for just a moment. So you're coming with 5 to go, and you have perhaps the best driver behind you on the high lane. Well, what do you have to do? You have to move to the high lane to prevent him from catching you. So now these are laps with experience that you can't replace. You can't simulate this. You can't put yourself in this situation except for being there. So you've got to find a way to find speed late in this run, and I think those are things, experiences that you just can't replace, and that's why they run these races.
Well, experience of this lane, we watched all the practices this weekend, Rick. No one has been this high. This isn't a lane that opens up in practice, so if he wouldn't run this Xfinity race, he wouldn't have practice in this lane for tomorrow.
And I can about guarantee you that Kyle Larson is not very happy right now with Spencer Gallagher. It seemed like everywhere Kyle went to go, Spencer was there.
Spencer moved up the racetrack, and that allowed Kyle Larson to get by as we see the other driver involved in the 12th and 13th battle, Brendan Gaughan, about to go a lap down. So Brendan Gaughan, who's running 18th, currently the last car in the lead lap, and now no longer on the lead lap. So Brendan Gaughan goes a lap down.
Hey, Rick.
Yeah.
And not too concerned about it, because remember, his main point was keep his eye on Michael Annett, and neither one of them are going to get stage points this time.
But this is what we talked about at the top of the show, Rick. We don't want to try to discount. Oh, it was the 42 gets into the wall.
Slides into the wall.
Half back down bottom.
Right rear quarter panel for sure hit.
Yeah, right side damage. It's going to be right rear back. I don't think you got it with the front. I'll take a good look here.
So the spotter is going to be looking closely to see how much damage was done, but We've mentioned many times, Kyle Larson runs right up against the wall as much as he can. That car broke loose, got into the wall.
It's not that bad.
Well, certainly you can see the right rear quarter panel is scuffed up a little bit, but the spoiler seems to be intact, Steve, and the bumper doesn't seem to be moved over.
Well, and he goes right back to the top of 1 and 2 here on the final lap of stage 1. So that contact definitely hasn't discouraged him using the top of the racetrack.
Last 2 starts at this racetrack, Eric Jones ended up in victory lane. Well, he's continuing his winning ways. He'll win stage 1 from Chicagoland. Eric Jones, Kyle Larson. When the caution comes out, the driver that scored 1 lap down, the highest scored driver 1 lap down, will be Brendan Gaughan. So Brendan Gaughan will end up getting the free pass as we go through 6th through 10th. Sadler, who is the regular season champion, adds a couple more points to those numbers. Look at the slide by the 42. Little fender damage there by Kyle Larson. We'll see if that affects him in stage 2. Stage 1 winner Eric Jones gets another victory and momentum as we get ready for the second stage. And the first 45 lap stage is now in the books. It was Eric Jones who ended up getting the win. Maybe a little bit of an expensive second place for Kyle Larson. We'll see how the damage to the right rear quarter panel will affect that car for the remainder of this race. Cole Custer, the highest scored Xfinity Series driver, was able to come home in third. And now they're making their way onto pit road. Let's go to Dave.
And Rick, the 42 team feels like they need to fix that right rear damage. They've got some bare bond. After the team makes its tire change and adjustments over there, they'll go back over the wall and put a big piece of tape on there, Parker.
Cole Custer pits out of the 3rd position, fighting a free car at the end of that run. They're going to do 4 Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel. Also getting a little help continually from his spotter, Eddie Hunt, on where that 42 car is beating him, Marty.
Parker, the Chicago racetrack will reach out and bite you. It also bit Ryan Blaney, bottom of your screen, running fourth. He too made contact with all on the right side of the car. Not as much damage as the 42 car, but their car very free. You saw them go down 3 rounds on the track bar and big air pressure adjustments as well. Very free for that 22 car, Rick.
Absolutely. The race off pit road. It's Eric Jones holding serve. He's able to stay out front. Cole Custer made up a spot. So did Daniel Suarez, a couple there on pit road. Marty.
And Rick, you see back in the garage area, William Byron has already pulled out of his garage stall. They already had the transmission changed on this 9 car. Very quick change for these guys, going to send him back out. There's the transmission that came out of the 9 car. I asked Dave Ellens, Ryan Pemberton, the team director for Junior Motorsports, why they were going to do this. He said, just what you guys said. We need laps and we need experience on this type of racetrack. So transmission already changed for William Byron, the 3-time winner this year in the Xfinity Series, heading back out on the racetrack.
And a little bit of work being done to the 42. So a little right rear quarter panel damage to the 42 of Kyle Larson. The 00 of Cole Custer. Again, the highest finishing Xfinity Series driver in that first stage, but yet to have a win in 2017. Let's see if we can talk to him.
Hey, Cole, you got a minute to talk to us?
Only running the top. It's good that you got a car that can run both lanes. Yeah, I got you guys.
Sorry to interrupt you there, Cole. Great run the first stage there. Tell us about your car.
I think we're pretty good. I think, you know, we have some little things that we can get better, but I think we were pretty good around the bottom. Hopefully we can just kind of keep it going.
Well, Bud, you're running with a bunch of Cup guys. Tell us about that. You enjoy that? You think it makes it too hard? Where are you on that?
I like it. I think they make you better. I mean, I'm learning stuff from, you know, Kyle running the top and everything, just trying to figure out how he runs it, but it's a little bit weird up there with that top scene in 1 and 2, but I think I figured it out there at the end of the run, so hopefully we can just keep it going.
It's been fun to watch, Bud. Keep it up. Good luck.
Thank you.
Another stage still in front of him as we take a look at the stage results presented by Ford Performance. Again, only the Xfinity Series regular drivers will receive points.
The official infield pace car is out. Jeff and his friends made it. They've been coming down here for 10 years for the racing. We are racing Xfinity Series here at Chicagoland. And boys, I can tell you, I drove that pace car last week. That was pretty serious. This one's a whole different ball of wax down here in the infield. Fans are having a great time. How's it look from up there?
So Rutledge, I see you have help pedaling. I don't think you're actually doing anything. Are your feet just moving, or are you really pedaling?
I'm totally pedaling, man. It's a one-to-one gear. We can go forward or backwards, same power.
Hey, Rutledge, if you make a left, that's the closest way to the infield care center.
I'm going to need it, Jeff.
You guys might need a tire change, too. Rudd enjoying his time in the infield as we get ready for the restart. Coming off of pit road, it was the 20 of Eric Jones. Cole Custer will restart second. Michael Annette will restart back in the 15th position. Brendan Gaughan, the last car in the lead lap, running 18th. Go through row by row as we get ready, and the field approaching the Geico restart zone. Eric Jones, Cole Custer, back to racing. Three wide going into one.
Cole Custer taking the fight straight to Eric Jones.
Well, as we talk about Xfinity regulars and championship hopefuls, we talk a lot about junior motorsports, but Cole Custer has really shown a lot of depth this season at different racetracks, but really on the mile and a half. He's second in the entire series for basically average points at a mile and a half. The only one better is William Byron, as we see the 18 up the racetrack.
Daniel Suarez, looks like that might have got a little bit loose on him, had to chase it up the track. Did it right in front of Ryan Blaney. Blaney's taking advantage of going by, and so is Elliott Sadler.
I'd say Suarez and the rest of the field was lucky there was no one there.
Now Blaney, that was a close call as he went right across the nose of the 22 when he went up the racetrack.
These cars, Rick, you have to use so much throttle. They don't have the horsepower that a Cup car has. So an Xfinity driver, he has to be in that throttle a lot. So when you drive into turn one, you're committed. I mean, and you see what happened to Suarez. He's wide open in the throttle. Car starts going. Lifting the throttle doesn't keep it down. It's got so much speed built up that it just goes where it wants to go.
Well, here it is, Rick. You want to know what a driver sees? I don't think it gets any better than this. You're on board with Darrell Wallace Jr., who's up the racetrack and losing positions. As we saw a couple cars go by, now he has the 3 of Ty Dillon to his left.
Big bump right there.
Just doesn't have new tire speed. He's definitely off the pace on these new tires, but that line he's running up the racetrack, perhaps the car will get better the longer into the run, Jeff.
Well, that's the optimistic point of view.
I was trying. This glass half full. I was trying to sell it for my man here.
You see how that big bump right there is 2 distinct big bumps on both ends of the racetrack.
Yeah, so here's Chicago. You talk about roughness. Well, it's much rougher in 3 and 4 than 1 and 2. The entrance on 1 and 2 is the bumpy spot. So as he follows the 5 in, he goes over the bump. Then it's relatively smooth. He's going to try to stay below the 5, get some air to the nose. Did a nice job of it right there. Was able to stay in the gas. Will he be able to make a move into 3?
Hey, Steve, and you were wondering why that outside lane wasn't working there on the restart here? It never works. The reason being is when these cars are under caution, they pick up all the rubber on that bottom lane, and therefore that outside lane takes time to come in. Until the rubber lays down that bottom lane, you're not going to have the grip up there to make moves, and that's what was happening to Darrell Wallace there as he fell back.
Parker Michael Annette right in front of that group doing his job today. Right now running in the 14th spot, plus 33 over that cut line. But Jonathan Davis, the man on the right there, called down the crew chief a moment ago, who's Jason Stockhart, and said, hey, I see something on the right rear tire that worries me. He saw some sort of fluid on the tire. He thought it might be gear oil. And remember, their teammate William Byron has already had a transmission go bad in this race. They looked at it. They do not think it's gear oil, but that's certainly concerning. And Steve, They have not told Michael on the radio there might be an issue, but they did find some fluid on that right rear tire. How concerned would you be fighting for a championship spot in that situation?
Well, I would be concerned because any oil on that right rear tire tells me that perhaps it could be a seal or something in the rear end housing. Remember, as you turn left, where's the oil going to want to go, Rick? It's going to want to go to the right side of the housing. That's normally where we'll end up seeing it, is on the wheel as the 42 of Kyle Larson kind of muscles by the 19. So we'll have to keep an eye on that because that's what the 28 of Dakota Armstrong needs. He needs a mechanical failure or an accident for one of these cars he's racing against.
And the 42 of Larson, we talked about him getting by Matt Tiff just a little bit ago. Well, he started 17th. He's already driven himself up to 6th place. So Kyle Larson hasn't lost any speed with that right rear quarter panel damage.
But he did lose a lot of track position because he was second when he came onto pit road. They had to do fairly extensive work to the 42. They came to pit road twice. So with that, they lost quite a few positions as far as track position. Now he's battling to get that back, and he's made his way all the way up to the 6th position.
And I think once you dig that hole, you have that problem. It's just about grinding your way back, not necessarily to the lead, but to the point where you can get to the lead on a restart. So right now we have 30 to go before the end of this stage. His goal is just to get back to maybe 4th or maybe higher. We've seen how fast he is on a longer run, so maybe he can get higher than that. But if he gets to 4th, comes in, has a good pit stop, then he can fight for the lead in that last stage.
And again, right now, Kyle Larson running in the 6th position. The last car on the lead lap is Brendan Gaughan in the 62. He's currently running 18th. Dave?
A couple of concerns right now, Rick. On the restart, lap 52, had some contact with another car. The crew said it was okay, but then he's been falling back. 6 laps later, he's reporting the car is very darty, and then he tells his crew chief, I think there's something wrong in the front end of the car. He's fallen back now, still the last car on the lead lap, but losing time.
He's 10 miles an hour slower.
And I know Brendan Gaughan in his interviews continue to point out that he's here to race the 28 and the 5 for that last playoff spot and make sure he's in. And I understand that, and I appreciate that approach. But I really think the 62 needs to be thinking forward. They need to be looking ahead to the playoffs. We've already talked about how many mile-and-a-half tracks are in the playoffs. My concern for the 62 is just their level of competition. They consistently run probably outside the top 15, the top 12. Brendan Gaughan can't be happy with that. RCR is not happy with that. No one involved is, and I know they're trying hard, but my point is they have, you see a big wiggle right there. You know, use this weekend to try to improve. I think that would be a better approach versus playing defense and trying to make sure you're in the playoffs.
Eric Jones now has built up a 9/10 of a second lead over Cole Custer, Ryan Blaney, Elliott Sadler, and Daniel Suarez, the top 5 at Chicagoland. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. And by Bank of America. Life better connected. Beautiful shots of Chicago, one of the greatest sports cities in America. And Brendan Gaughan, who currently is running in the 18th spot and is on the lead lap, is about to go, well, a lap down. He's currently 30 seconds behind race leader Eric Jones, and Eric Jones is about to go by him. Want to listen into a little team communications for Brendan.
We got a fan view. We got an in-car camera. You can see the wheel, what's happening on it in a straight line. We pulled too much packer out of the left front. It's probably on the left front spring. We just got to get through it here. As long as you think you know what it is, that makes me happy.
See him point out the window right there. He knows the leader of Eric Jones is coming. He knows he doesn't have the car to fight him off. So he just very clear, left hand out the window. I need you to take the bottom. I need the top.
Yeah, and they have something major going on. They're 2 seconds a lap off the pace. And I mean, it's more than a Packer. I appreciate Shane Wilson. I won a lot of races with Shane Wilson. I appreciate the sales job, but it's got to be something more than just being on the left front spring.
Hey, Jeff, then he came back to his driver, and Shane said, we think it's more than that, Brendan. We may have a tire going down because it was only a 32nd of a Packer that they took out of it. That couldn't cause the problems they have. So we'll keep an eye on Brendan Gaughan possibly heading to pit road sometime soon.
And up in 12th is Blake Cook.
Is that a giraffe on the hood, Rick?
Of Blake Cook's car?
Yeah, it's a
absolutely.
Giraffe.
You know how fast a giraffe can run?
37 miles an hour.
So, but I want to watch though is while 0 to 37 is going to be impressive. How does a giraffe go from 37 to 0? Because with those long legs, I want to see it try to slow down.
Full of event, I can promise you.
And Lee Filter, a part of Blake Cook's sponsorship team. Parker.
Hey guys, that giraffe actually has a name. It's Digi for digital marketing, because the digital marketing team got that giraffe. Matt Collig, the owner of Lee Filter and the owner of Collig Racing, challenged his digital marketing team to get an outlandish single-day sales day. Well, they achieved it after 3 years. And so what did he promise them if they did that? He would buy them a giraffe. And that's what he did this past week. He bought a giraffe. Its new name is Digi. He's trying to decide which zoo to give it to right now. They haven't figured that out, but it is on the hood right there. And as Chris Rice, his crew chief, told him at the beginning of this race, stretch your neck out. You got a longer one than anyone else out here.
Oh, boy.
So, Parker, I'm assuming this is an outdoor pet.
Yeah, I think you can't bring that in the house right now. That's Matt Collig right there, and that's Digi on the right side. They have similar face right there.
Thanks for clarifying which one was the giraffe.
Exactly.
I tell you what, though, guys, these are the types of battles that I'm really looking forward to over the playoffs, because you look at Blake Cook in 13th and Brendan Poole in 12th. These two cars are solidly in the playoffs. This is going to be the type of battle to see who advances out of the round of 12. You know, they are those two teams that they run good. They run just inside or just outside the top 10. This is going to be a head-to-head battle to see who makes the round of 8.
Yeah, I think Blake Cook and his team, they came out of the gates last year. They were really impressive. They did some really good stuff. Haven't quite had the speed this year, but I think some of that's RCR as well. I think RCR Xfinity cars haven't had the speed. They work with RCR, and you know that's affecting this team as well. So, you know, a little bit of fall off in performance, but I agree with you, Steve. These kind of battles within the field, they're so much fun and so compelling to watch.
And it's going to be fun to watch with these mile and a halves as well. You saw Brendan Poole a moment ago pretty free up there on the top side of the racetrack. And I was talking to Chad Norris, his crew chief, about their mile and a half program. He said, I honestly feel like it's on par with the best guys in the series, and we can compete with anyone and make it to Homestead Miami with a chance to win the championship. But we've only had 1 mile and a half race in the Xfinity Series since the end of May. He said, I don't know where our program is. I need to sort of rediscover how good our mile and a half program is. And that's why today is a key race, Steve, because they haven't had much mile and a half experience lately. So getting a mile and a half like this, very similar to Homestead Miami, key for these Xfinity Series teams.
And Blake Cook currently running 13th. The 32-year-old from West Palm Beach, Florida. Let's learn more about him.
Hey, I'm Blake Cook, driver of the number 11 leaf filter gutter protection Chevy in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. And here are 3 things that you probably don't know about me. 1, I used to drive Trevor Bayne's motorhome to the racetrack, and that was a lot of fun, but it's more fun driving. And 2 is I Googled how to get in NASCAR, how to be a NASCAR driver, like I Googled it. And 3 is the first ever NASCAR race I ever watched was the 2007 Daytona 500.
Aerial coverage provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods. As we watch Eric Jones and get a little bit of a sense of the gap that he has between first and second. Cole Custer currently running second, 2.5 seconds back. So Eric Jones has been dominant. 83 of the 84 laps that have been run today have been led by Eric Jones. Cole Custer had the advantage of going across the start-finish line when he came to pit road before Eric Jones. That's the only time that Eric Jones has not been in front of this field. Let's go back to the 7 car of Justin Allgaier and listen in on spotter communications.
Here you go, buddy. If he runs the wall down here, you can pace yourself on that line. Nobody out back. The only thing I would change, Justin, is this 42 gets to the wall a little bit sooner. He's a half a car length higher entering one, gets to the wall just a little bit sooner.
That was spotter coverage presented by Liberty Mutual Insurance, helping drivers worry less.
And Rick, that was TJ Majors, the spotter for Justin Allgaier, giving him a little bit of coaching on his line, Jeff, just letting him know what he's seeing Larson's doing in his race car and where he's making up time. Perhaps he wants to maybe coach him off Eric Jones, the leader, but I understand why he's using Kyle Larson, because before we saw that accident, that 42 was making a lot of lap time up top. And to be honest, he's got all the way back to 4th. Great prediction, Jeff, but he's consistently one of the fastest cars on the track as well.
Yeah, you know, listen, Eric Jones has dominated this race, but remember, prior to the end of stage 1, Kyle Larson had run him down. So as we're looking forward into this race, this last stage is a long stage, and it appears to me that Kyle Larson is very fast at the end of long run. So I wouldn't give this race to Eric Jones just yet. The 42 needs a good pit stop, get their track position back, and they can contend.
And Jeff, the car's not perfect for him right now. During the middle of this run, he was reporting that the car was way too loose. That's a quote from the driver. So he does want it to be changed a little bit, but obviously at the end of the runs, it's quite strong.
Well, that's typically his strength. You think about the 42 on these kind of racetracks, multiple groove, slick racetracks where he can go to the top. That's when he makes so much time.
Darrell Wallace Jr., he's been slimed already this weekend as a part of the Nickelodeon fun that has been had at the track as we ride along with the Ford Performance. And this perspective is spectacular. You get a feel for how bumpy this racetrack is as he chases behind the 16 of Ryan Reed.
And right now, Rick, Bubba Wallace said that he's really just trying to take care of the equipment. He's lacking overall grip. You can imagine the task at hand for this team as Bubba came in for a one-off race, and his crew chief John Hansen saying usually it takes a couple of races just to figure each other out and figure out what he wants in the car. He said, I think we started the weekend a little bit too far off. They're hoping for a top 10 here today.
Steve, you mentioned it, really an unfortunate situation. Darrell Wallace Jr. was fourth in the point standings when the team really just ran out of funding and couldn't continue on.
Yeah, and that's why I think this is bittersweet. I think he wants to come here and prove that he belongs. He went and got a one-race truck deal at Michigan, won that truck race, has run a little bit of cup races in the 43 car. We're hearing out of that 43 in that RPM camp that perhaps that might be his opportunity as the end of stage 2 comes to a close.
And it was a large margin of victory there for Eric Jones that time. Eric Jones had a 2-second lead over Cole Custer this time around. So now Eric Jones has swept stage 1 and stage 2. That's already his 5th stage win. Cole Custer moved up. Again, Cole Custer, a regular in the Xfinity Series, is going to get 9 stage points from that performance, finishing 2nd. Sunday night is football night. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers visit Matt Ryan and the Falcons as Atlanta will open their new stadium. Mike Tirico, Dan Patrick host Football Night in America. That's tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern, only on NBC. Both teams won their season opener. A great rematch from last year as The field now all in line. That's what happens at the end of the stage. NASCAR makes sure that everyone is in the proper position before they enter pit road. Everyone is now in line. Eric Jones, Cole Custer, Ryan Blaney, Kyle Larson, and Elliott Sadler, the top 5. And Jones will lead them onto pit road. Let's go to Dave.
Eric was on the pole and has led all day. Bad news for the competition. He said, I've still got a little bit left if I want it. So no changes to the car at this point for Goodyear Eagles and Sunoco Fuel, Kelly.
Elliott Sadler was happier with his car on that run, although he said he needs a little help with rear grip. He's relying on using up the right rear a little bit too much. He asked for just a small adjustment. They make it there for Goodyear tires, Parker.
Cole Custer's team has been telling him he's faster on the bottom, not so much on the top, so they can do an air pressure adjustment for Goodyear tires, Sunoco Fuel to fix that, Marty.
Ryan Blaney running third that entire run. You see the wedge adjustment going in. He said the car started too tight. Maybe they went too far on the last adjustment. He said it was free at the end of the run, but that didn't bother him. He needed help at the start of the run. Air pressure, wedge, and tape on the grill for that 22 car, Rick.
Yeah, I think you have to look at the 42 of Kyle Larson. We mentioned the fact that it was going to be a little bit of an issue there for Kyle Larson if he had a good stop, that he would be in contention, but now lost some positions as we see the hood up on the 62 of Brendan Gaughan. And so they're looking a little closer at the front end and what's going on with the 62 as Brendan had his hands full. So Brendan Gaughan, who's currently 12th in the point standings, and that final spot in the playoffs comes off of pit road after a little bit longer stop. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Xfinity Series Racing live here at Chicagoland on NBCSN. We're checking out possibly the coolest campground space over here. These folks are all from about 20 minutes away. They set up this every single year. That's a 1926 Ford Model T that started as an $800 yard art. Now it runs and drives. We got the barber chair. They brought the whole family up here. Guys, it's just one spot.
So
one spot, Rick. It's just crazy.
Hold on, Rick. Are they? Excuse me, Rod. Are they going to use the barber chair for the locks, the flowing locks up there, or no?
Steve, they said they thought you were going to grow your hair out too, and now it's just me, and now I'm in that awkward grow out phase forever.
Okay, I was just checking.
Come on down, brother.
Brother John, I want to make you feel bad, but no one else is going to do their hair like yours.
Thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome.
So much love. Probably not as much love as, well, Eric Jones was hoping he was feeling, but Eric Jones caught for speeding on pit road. Dave.
He came down pit road after the pit stop saying my tachometer was all jacked up. I probably sped. That was the case. NASCAR busted him for speeding. He asked his crew chief, Chris Gabart, well, if I just turn the power off and cycle it back through, will that fix it? And Chris's answer was, my experience with this is that usually does not fix it. Hey, also real quick, the right rear tire on Brendan Gaughan's 62, that had equalized. That was part of the problem on the 62. He's been back down pit road to try to get that car righted, but that was part of their issue.
Look at the frustration of Eric Jones.
He's trying to tap the tack, just trying to get, it's electronic, so he's doing everything he can to try to get the tack to work. And also remember the 22 car, he was also penalized for speed. He was in 3rd place. So our leader and the 3rd place guys penalized for speed and got to go to the back.
It's going to be Cole Custer and Daniel Suarez who will make up row number 1 as the field approaches the Geico restart zone. Up through the gears once again. A little bit of help for Cole Custer. The one of Elliott Sadler on the back bumper giving a little bit of a shove as they go into turn 1.
And the big winner for those 2 penalties, I believe, is the 42 car. You know, he did not have a good pit stop, was going to come out much further behind. Those guys get penalized. That moved him up a full row.
You know, we saw him come through the field on the last run, so we are pretty confident that the 42's been repaired back to the state of the start of the race, and he's going to make short work on Daniel Suarez for 2nd here. Well, I say that, and as I say it, Daniel Suarez fights back on the outside, but look at the 42. He can carry a lot of speed in on the bottom of the racetrack.
Well, and we've talked about his long run speed. This looks like pretty good short run speed as well for Kyle Larson. Has a great restart and now has made his way up to 2nd.
Run and hide, Cole Custer. Run and hide. Try to get away before the 42 can get into that rhythm.
Cole Custer out in front. Kyle Larson now running 2nd. Daniel Suarez, Austin Dillon, and Elliott Sadler to the top 5.
And Steve, the one thing we know about Cole Custer and watching him race all the years we've watched him being aggressive is not going to be the problem.
No.
He is going to be on the gas, getting every bit of speed he can out of that race car. He is an aggressive race car driver.
Cole Custer with Stewart Haas Racing, their first foray at Xfinity Series racing. And it works out, or is working out right now here at Chicagoland. Take another look at the hands of Cole Custer on this restart.
Puts his hand out the window so he can let Elliott Sadler know when he's going to go. You see Elliott Sadler moving right up behind him, wanting to get that push from Elliott. And he's driven off from Kyle Larson right here.
And Jeff, you mentioned Cole's aggression, right? Well, Jeff Bender and his crew chief and I were talking a little bit earlier, and I said, what does Cole do well? And he said, he's fast. He just simply is fast. When we show up to a racetrack, we know he's going to get everything out of that race car. He said that most of the time, we actually have to back him down. And there's that old saying in racing, it's easier to back them down than to fire him up, right?
Oh, that's right. And what's interesting, too, is how calm he is out of the race car. Very softly spoken, very unassuming personality. But when he puts that helmet on, he is a completely different person. Very aggressive, attacks the racetrack.
Ryan Blaney, the other driver that was caught for speeding on pit road. And Blaney has made his way back up to the 10th position. He's about almost 5 seconds behind Cole Custer.
And this 22 car is really making a nice work of traffic. As you see right here, he's going to easily turn underneath the 16 of Ryan Reed. That'll move him up basically 8 positions since the restart. The 20 of Eric Jones had such a dominant car as the leader, but we haven't seen him in traffic, and he's struggling to get through traffic compared to the 22. While he's still making ground, it's not quite as easy as it's been for Ryan Blaney. You see right here is the 20 of Eric Jones.
And when you've been out front, Steve, you're not making adjustments to the car based on the way it drives in traffic. You have no idea. So now this is the first time he's in traffic, and his car is driving completely different, and they didn't make the adjustments thinking they were going to be back here. So they're going to have to make this run and get through this traffic and then decide how big of a change to make. And that's why it's not just a loss of track position. It's a loss in understanding what changes you need to make so that if you do get back to the front, you have your car the way you need it to be.
Eric Jones currently running 11th. Ryan Reed just in front. Ryan Reed kicked off the 2017 season by winning at Daytona. That locked him into the playoffs. But Eric Jones, you take a look. Eric Jones bumping into the back of the 11 of Blake Cook.
Yeah, that actually slowed his momentum down. Allowed the 22 of Blaney to get underneath him. Ultimately cleared him. Hey, don't hit the giraffe.
Don't hit the giraffe? What about the NBA player? You don't want to hit the NBA player either. On the hood of the 20. Pretty good battle for fourth building between Austin Dillon and Elliott Sadler. You see Sadler making the move to the inside, and Sadler will quickly get past the two of Dillon, and Sadler moves up into the fourth spot. Probably a surprise of the season has been the fact that Elliott Sadler hasn't been to victory lane. Regular season champion. He will receive 15 playoff points at the end of this race that will carry into the playoffs, at least through the first round. Elliott Sadler has had success here at Chicagoland. Won back in 2012.
And no surprise that as the race has gone on, this team's gotten better. That's their MO. That's what they do. They start off practice on an awful lot of times where they're not as good as they need to be. They get better in practice. They do the same thing in the race. They get better as the race goes on.
And as we're following the one of Elliott Sadler, 11 laps now on these drivers' tires from the last restart. We're starting to see the cars move around the racetrack. Cole Custer's still kind of running the bottom. The 42 of Larson has moved up. We'll see which direction the one goes. Seems like he has to pass a lap car. He's still going to commit to the bottom of the racetrack.
Elliott Sadler knows that he's in the playoffs. The one thing that he would like is a little bit of momentum, a good finish, maybe even a win to end the regular season. But he already knows he has the regular season championship locked up.
The Xfinity Series regular season champion.
We want redemption. We want that championship. We were so close last year, and we want to put ourselves in that situation again, redeem ourselves, and win that championship.
NASCAR Race View gives you access to features that let you follow your favorite driver just like you're at the track. You get live stats, leaderboards, driver, team communications, and more on any device. It's available now for an all-new low price when you visit NASCAR.com/raceview. That's a great view from the helmet of Darrell Wallace Jr. Here's another great view. This spotter coverage brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance, helping drivers worry less on the track and on the road. Cole Custer out in front has about a half a second lead. There's the gap between 1 and 2 now. Cole Custer in the 00, Kyle Larson in the 42. Career high for laps led, and he continues to add to those as long as he can keep that 42 behind him. The 22 laps already for Cole Custer. Only 2 have been out front. Eric Jones led 92 laps, and now Cole Custer, after restarting up front, has been able to lead 22 and counting. Let's go through the field. We'll start with Parker.
And you mentioned what an awesome day for Cole Custer here to be leading on over that 42 of Kyle Larson. But one thing I'll be watching is if he's able to get to that top side and try to hold off that 42. He has not been able to do that as he goes up right now. We'll see if that continues, Dave.
Kyle Larson said before the last pit stop, nice little save there. He said, I need a huge change. 2 free the whole time, everywhere in the run. They did that, and now he's up to second, Marty.
Daniel Suarez in third, said his car is 2 free and on the bottom and 2 tight on the top. They said, we want to fix you up so you can run the top, just like that 42 car does in front of you. He told me running low grip racetracks like this, the biggest help he has of all. He said, I didn't do it as a kid, so running them here certainly helps me in the Xfinity Series, Kelly.
Regular season champ Elliott Sadler leads just about every category in this series except for wins. They have yet to do that this season. Here's what Elliott had to say after the last round of changes to the 1 car.
Good job on the exit. I mean, we definitely helped the exit. I need some more front grid back in there to run the center.
10-4, man. Focus on these lap times here for us. 250, 40 out front, 70 behind.
Elliott Sadler running fourth, looking to get that win and a whole bunch of momentum headed into the playoffs, Marty.
Been fun to watch Ryan Blaney. Restarted 17th after that speeding penalty, and he has sped up through the field right now in the 5th position for him. And a battle for the lead up front, Rick. Kyle Larson has caught that 00.
Yeah, the traffic now is starting to be a little bit more difficult for these two to negotiate through. Cole Custer knows that the 42 of Kyle Larson is there, as Kyle Larson has gone to the bottom of the racetrack, trying to take that spot away, moving around the racetrack. And what Cole Custer would have thought the preferred line for the 42 was up high, Kyle Larson's running anywhere on the track now.
Well, Parker Kligerman called it. You know, when was Cole Custer going to change his line? And when he changed his line, how effective could he be at it? So Cole Custer saw Kyle coming, went to the top. He's been very effective at it. He struggled at it early in the day, but right now it's worked pretty well.
I don't like this move, though. He did such a good job of blocking the top. I would not have given Kyle Larson the opportunity to run to the top of the racetrack. He's going to have a ton of momentum down the front stretch, close into 2 or 3 car lengths getting into 1. Which lane will Cole Custer pick? I think he needs to move to the top.
Yeah, he'll go back to the top right now, but that allowed that momentum of the 42. Now they're side by side again. Custer will get the big run off the corner.
I think he needs to learn, though, at this end of the racetrack, he needs to go back to the top of the racetrack. It's not about where your car is the best. Sometimes you have to run where their car is the best. He doesn't. He goes to the bottom. Will that cost him the lead?
It's the momentum that the 42 of Kyle Larson builds up. And if he can utilize that through the front stretch and then into turn 1, can he get by the 00 as they come up on some of the slower traffic?
That's the key. It just allows Larson to get that big run, but Cole Custer just hugs the wall, doesn't give the top to Larson. Larson's not as good in the middle of the racetrack as Custer is on the top. So after seeing that several laps, though, what do you do now? There it is, back to the top. Going to give Kyle Larson the middle of the racetrack.
But this is the first time the 42 didn't go to the white line. He kind of entered the middle, migrated down to the white line on exit. Seemed like he actually wanted the bottom that time.
So the problem is you don't know where the guy in front of you is going to go. So you have to commit on the straight. You have to lift at a point before the guy in front of you. You don't know where he's going. So if he would have known the 00 was going to the top, he may have gone to the very bottom, but you don't know where he's going until he goes there.
Some of the best communication that we've heard was when Cole Custer mentioned, I learned a lot. I was watching the 42, watching the lines he was running so that I could learn from Kyle Larson as he was following him around the racetrack. Now he's in front of him, and so he's the one who's dictating the lines that Kyle Larson will have to run.
And that's the key. I actually think the 42 has a little better race car if it's lap time compared to lap time in the same lane. But Custer is the leader. He has the option to run that lane, and that's holding the 42 back. Now he followed the 00. He's finally far enough behind him, Jeff, where he didn't think the air was going to hurt him. He followed the 00 and actually maybe broke even, if not gained a little time. Now he's only 3 car lengths back again on the exit of 4.
And Larson went to the bottom. One thing about it, he's Custer's keeping Larson guessing. You know, Custer went to the bottom. That's thing I just said Larson, but you know, honestly, if I'm Kyle Larson, I don't know where Custer's going at the moment. He keeps surprising me and where he's going to go.
Well, then why do these guys need, you know, they need to figure this out because, hey, guess what? Eric Jones is all the way up to 6th. Blaney's got into 3rd. He's having some decent lap times as well. We're going to take a look at their speeds at the start-finish line this time by. You're going to see the variety in the top 6.
And again, that choosing of different lanes for Cole Custer has been able to keep the 42 of Kyle Larson at bay. You see the speeds at the line. That time it was Kyle Larson who was the fastest that lap. But again, not being able to pass Cole Custer yet. He hasn't been able to figure out the exact line that will get him in front of that 00. Maybe here as he dives to the bottom of the racetrack, but just gets a little bit loose as he was going by the 14, not able to clear the 00.
Yeah, but he gained a lot of track position, so that's the game, is you're just trying to eat away at that lead to be able to get close enough to be able to drive in deeper and kind of slide job your way in front of the guy in front of you.
That's the key, the slide job. I think that's what he's looking for down into turn 3. Jeff, enter low, slide up in front of the 00 and take it away, take that line away. I think he's close enough here. Can he enter hard enough on the bottom to take the spot?
He's going to try it. Here he goes to the bottom of the track. Just gets to the door, though. Doesn't have him cleared yet. Will he move up the track in front of him? No, he doesn't have enough room.
And Cole Custer is going to have the preferred lane, so now that Kyle Larson is beside him, now his angle of attack is messed up getting into turn 1.
Will he try the same move, the slide move? He gets in front of him. He goes up the racetrack. Cole Custer dives off the top of the track, and the 42 is going to hang on to the lead. Here comes the 00 back again, though.
Great job by Cole Custer. Anticipated and understand what Larson was going to do. Larson was going to overdrive the entry, get way slow in the middle of the corner. That allowed Custer to be in the throttle, turn left, and clear him again on the crossover.
Yeah, he didn't look like a 19-year-old right there. He didn't look like he was running his first ever Xfinity race at Chicagoland. He predicted it. Now can he continue to play defense?
Now he's in trouble, though. Lap car in front of him. He got stuck in the middle of the racetrack. If Larson could get next to him, which he couldn't, I thought the 00 was in trouble right there with the air coming off that 51 car.
Now Cole Custer has to get around Jeremy Clements in the 51, so he goes to the bottom of the racetrack to make the pass, and Kyle Larson follows in his tire tracks.
Jeff, you asked him after the first stage, what was his opinion about running with the Cup guys? He said he liked it.
You got 5 on him now.
You heard, what did he say? He liked it. It made him better as a race car driver. That's why Kyle Larson is forcing the 00 to drive to his limit, to be creative, to try multiple lines.
32 laps right now on these tires after the end of stage 2. And Steve, how far can they go fuel wise, and are they burning the tires up here with this side-by-side racing?
Well, they are burning the tires up, but they have about 3.5 seconds back to Blaney in 3rd. They're going to try to break up this last 110 laps somewhat in the middle. They can run 50 to 55 laps on fuel, so they're going to probably try to split it up dead in the middle, Rick.
What an impressive run we have seen out of Cole Custer and Kyle Larson. Still 71 to go. There's a new leader at Chicagoland Speedway, and you saw it all on NASCAR Nonstop. Kyle Larson, after a very impressive battle between Larson and Cole Custer, Kyle Larson was able to take the lead away. And let's take a look at how it happened. Maybe a little bit loose out of the double zero.
Yeah, the double zero got way loose in the middle of the corner, and the 42 of Larson did not, and just got so much momentum built down the back straightaway that he has that momentum going the right direction and is able to drive in the corner with enough speed. Kind of the same thing that happened earlier, but now because he had that momentum, he never had to slow down quite as much. Cole Custer tried that same move. 42, just too much speed. Now he's got the preferred lane and was able to hold off the double zero.
How about Larson, though? He chased the double zero all the way to the grass to get that little bit of side draft. But remember, Rick, there's still 65 laps to go. So all these teams have to come on and off pit road. We heard about Eric Jones, the trouble he had coming with his tag. Going to be very difficult under green flag. The double zero still has a chance. Come to pit road, maybe out-execute the 42.
Yeah, and so Cole Custer's 19. He's 19 years old. Out there, racing against Kyle Larson, a lot of people think he's one of the best drivers in the sport. And he's out there toe-to-toe at 19 years old.
I was going to say, Kyle Larson's only 25, too, so he's not like one of the
That's old by Xfinity standards.
Think about the number of years that Kyle Larson has in Cup Series. Yes. I mean, he has a lot of laps underneath his belt to be that young.
Yeah, very, very experienced is Kyle Larson, and I think it was very impressive what we saw out of Cole Custer there. Cole Custer, and we're not going to count Cole Custer out either. I mean, Cole Custer ran an impressive little stint there, a little run where he was out front, was able to lead 38 laps, but now it's Kyle Larson who's out in front. Marty.
And you see on the right side of your screen Daniel Suarez now in 18th. A moment ago he was in 4th. He said he had a vibration. They came down pit road, gave up that 4th position. Indeed, the left rear tire was loose, and now there's concern that vibration went so long they may have damaged the studs on that left rear wheel for Daniel Suarez. He said he has another vibration after they put 4 new tires on. And another little twist to this. Remember the Cup Series, to switch for Joe Gibbs Racing pit crews. This is Kyle Busch's pit crew who will pit his car tomorrow. They were the 19 crew for much of the year with Daniel Suarez in the Cup Series. So a little twist on that story. Suarez right now trying to figure out how long he can stay out there with now the 2nd vibration on that 18 car.
Bubba Wallace currently is 17th. He's the last car scored on the lead lap. Take a look at what happened just in front of him. And Poole gets into the wall. And when you watch from on board with Bubba, this is what it looks like.
Yeah, I think I'm on to take a stand. See if we still there. No caution, still there. Clear the.
He made that look pretty good, Jeff. Just breathed it a little bit, turned to the bottom.
And he's going to make his way onto pit road. And probably a little bit too far. He's got 61 laps to go still in the race, so I'm not sure he can stretch fuel that far. Kelly.
And I can tell you that Bubba Wallace has needed a little bit more grip overall in this 98 car. They suffered some damage the last time they came to pit road. Don't know who hit them, but they were afraid they had a tire rub and a tire going down. They were able to make it last this long. I don't think they actually had a tire rub, but it was 4 Goodyear tires. Sunoco fuel for Bubba Wallace.
Green flag pit stops are going to be coming up in probably 10 laps or less. We'll take a quick break and be back for those. I mentioned pit stops were about to take place, and they are doing just that. Parker.
Ford Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel for Justin Allgaier. Had a kind of a quiet day in the top 10. Has never been really able to get the hold of that 7 car, Marty.
Brandon Jones been struggling with a race car that's been free for much of the day, trying to get it into the top 10, but having a solid run right around 12th position for much of the afternoon, Dave.
Austin Dillon on pit road in the 2 car. That car needs some more drive off. He'll get 4 Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel.
And again, in the middle of green flag pit stops, Blake Cook is sliding into his pit stall.
You see on the top, Brendan Poole, too fast entering that next thing.
Parker.
You see Blake Cook there coming to a stop there. Ford Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel for him. They had a bad pit stop in the last stop at the end of stage 2. Are trying to make up time from that.
As we ride on board with the 20 of Eric Jones, Rick, remember this 20 does not have attack. This could be close. We're going to have to see how he does getting down and maintaining pit road speed.
Leaving pit road now, Steve. He got 4 Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel. The car was too loose for him as well.
What a run from 17th to 3rd for Ryan Blaney. Now can he get up there and try and steal the win here at Chicagoland? He said the balance was much better, but still a little too free for him. So they're going to make an adjustment here. 4 Goodyear tires, Sunoco fuel. That'll get him to the end here, Dave.
Matt Tift was running 9th during this whole run, and the 19 driver says his car was just a little bit too free. They'll make air pressure adjustments. 4 Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel. Parker.
Guys, this could be one of the most important pit stops of Cole Custer's young life here. If he's able to get on pit road, get this stop done, it'll be Ford Goodyear tires, Sunoco fuel, and beat out that 42. He could possibly win this race, Dave.
And Parker, the 42, has just pitted. Kyle Larson will be coming down pit road now with 4 fresh tires. They made an adjustment for a car that was still too free, and you'll see that the orange 42 will get by.
It was 1 and 2 there between Kyle Larson and Cole Custer, and that's how they'll come off of pit road. Marty?
The 5 of Michael Annette coming down pit road. Benny Miller is going to sit in his stall. Very courteous thing to do. Annette will slide to a stall, and now you have to push him back. He's done the job he needed to do on the racetrack, running in the top 10 today, or towards the bottom half of the top 10. He finally gets situated here. They have had some grease on the right rear wheel, as we've mentioned several times. They have had that all afternoon for the 5 of Michael Annette car-wise. Been too free, though. That's a long stop. We'll see how much track position that winds up costing them.
So now as green flag pit stops continue to cycle through, 15 cars on the lead lap, and Kyle Larson back out front. Now the gap between 1 and 2, it was a half a second. Coming off of pit road, it's 1.8 seconds. Larson's in front. .33 of Brandon Jones looked as though he was thinking very seriously about coming to pit road, and it didn't work out. And so very slow on the racetrack and coming out of turn 4. The field coming behind him quickly. Take a look as he's sliding, trying to break it down.
Yeah, he had pitted on lap 142, and now he was in 13th position. So I just think it got away from him. I think he was running that high line, and just trying to make it work and got real loose and spun it out.
Spinning out here ahead, back her down, he's right in the middle of the track, easy, stay high, stay high, stay high, come on.
That's what Bubba Wallace saw.
You'll be the beneficiary.
It's a great understanding of what you can't see. You know, you think, well, there's a car in the middle of the racetrack, surely you can see it, but you could see, you know, Bubba Wallace did not have a clear view of that.
Big break for this car, the 18 of Suarez. You know, it was reported that came to pit road because of a loose wheel. He was riding out a second vibration. Well, he chose not to pit, so he cycled around. He's on the lead lap, and with about 25 laps on his tires, it wouldn't surprise me that when pit road opens, we're going to see this 18 car on pit road for fresh tires with 50 to go. Sometimes you kind of get pushed into a strategy, Rick, with that, you know, a little bit older tires. This saved him. He'll now get fresh tires and line up 12th. There's only 12 cars in the lead lap, so a big break for Daniel Suarez.
And Steve Matt Lucas has actually already called him to pit road, said, yeah, when it opens, you're coming down pit road. They were going to be 10 laps short, so you're right. Huge break for this 18 team and Daniel Suarez.
Darrell Wallace Jr. is going to end up getting the free pass. He was the first car a lap down. He was running 13th, so that'll be 13 cars on the lead lap. Now,
the question, Rick,
some guys are going to stay out.
Well, that's the question. Larson, Custer, Blaney, you know, they only have about 3 or 4 laps on their tires. I think they're going to be forced into staying on the racetrack. But you look back to Elliott Sadler in 6th. He pitted at lap 142. He has more laps on his tires. He has 6, 8, 7. You know, those guys back there have a few more laps on their tires. So I expect there's going to be that magical break point, Jeff. Where's it going to be? With 12 cars in the lead lap, you know, are you going to be 5th on back, 6th on back, and you do not want to be the last car on old tires.
And you think about Elliott Sadler, he wants to do what they don't do. What is he here to do? He's here to win this race. He's already won the regular season points. He's trying to earn playoff points. So do the opposite of them. If they stay, you pit. If
well,
they
Jeff,
pit, you stay.
Sorry to interrupt you, but there's more at play here, and that's that Elliott Sadler had a huge vibration after they came to pit road last time down. Now, they checked the video. They think they got all the lugs tight, but they're going to bring him down regardless because he has such a bad vibration.
Listen, what are a few laps on tires worth? That much. Really, the entire field hit pit road.
Dave.
4 tires and fuel for Kyle Larson. He was told that his fire-off speed wasn't as good as some of the others, so they'll make an air pressure adjustment for that. Parker?
Well, Custer pits out of the 2nd position. He was not able to beat that 42 under the green flag sequence. They're going to do 4 Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel here on the 00, just trying to follow that 42 and hopefully beat him on this pit stop. Also pitting is the 3 of Ty Dillon. Not surprised to see him do this because he has struggled with this car throughout the day. Many a times coming across saying it has no grip. Right now it's very loose, Marty.
Brian Wilson told Ryan Blaney, hey, if they come in front of you, you come as well. So 4 tires for Ryan Blaney, who might lose a spot here on pit road. Also Daniel Suarez getting rid of that vibration, they hope. 4 tires for Daniel Suarez here on pit road as well.
There's the race off pit road. 3 spots gained by Austin Dillon, coming out in 4th, but the top 3 stay the same. NASCAR on NBCSN is brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance, helping drivers worry less on the track and on the road. Interesting choice of lanes for Kyle Larson.
Kyle Larson picked the bottom. That gives Custer the top. Custer has to get a good launch right here. If he can enter side by side, then he can side draft the 42, but he's got to get a launch to make it work.
Stay next to him and pin him down on the bottom, but it's going to be tough to do as organized as the 42 and the 22 are on the bottom lane. You see that huge push by Ryan Blaney.
Yeah, Ryan Blaney wasn't having any of that. Great job with pushing.
Here comes Cole Custer, trying to get that outside line going as he gets to the back bumper of the 42. Ryan Blaney on the inside of Kyle Larson, though, as they enter turn 3. Blaney going for the lead, and he'll take it away from the 42 and the 00.
And don't look now, but you're on board with Eric Jones, who also is going to clear the 42 getting into turn 1, try to chase down the 22 of Ryan Blaney.
Justin Allgaier jumped up 5th position.
Red car number 7, Justin Allgaier.
So now Cole Custer, Cole Custer, remain calm. You've been leading this race, running second. Now you're back to 4th. You're not going to get it back in 1 lap. Just eat away at him lap by lap. Do not try to do too much right here.
Marty.
And Rick, for Ryan Blaney, that 22 car out front, Jeff made a great point earlier. They've been working on this car all afternoon long, and what Ryan said was, I need it to be better in the short run. Brian Wilson's been working on that all day, and clearly they made it better on the short run, and they've been a good combo this year. They won Charlotte, finished 2nd at Kentucky. They would love to get a 2nd win here today at Chicago, Dave.
And Marty, Eric Jones needed a big adjustment on that 20 car before the pit stop. He called it ridiculously tight, so they made a track barrier and air pressure adjustment for him, and it fired off much better for Jones, and without that tachometer, he didn't speed in or out.
And Jeff, as we're talking about those leaders, I look back in the 4th position right here. You mentioned Cole Custer, the 7 of Justin Allgaier, the 1 of Elliott Sadler. William Byron might be the only one missing from this situation. He had a mechanical issue, but I think you're seeing a preview right now of those 3 cars. That is the battle I expect to watch over the playoffs, over the next group of races. Those are the 3 Xfinity regulars, and they are in that battle right here behind the 3 full-time Cup guys.
There you see full-time Xfinity drivers and where they're running.
And you mentioned it earlier, with all the 1.5 miles coming up, I think advantage Cole Custer. I think that plays into his strength. So, I mean, it really is a 1.5 mile race when you look at it. That's the majority of them by far, 1.5 miles. And Cole Custer, that's been his strength.
Yeah, Jeff Mendering, the crew chief, has got to be feeling good about the piece that he's brought here. We've heard a lot of crew chiefs say, hey, listen, this is going to be our workhorse. This is going to be the car that we race throughout the playoffs. So we'll have to see. As good as this 00 is, that's a question I'm going to have for Jeff Mendering later this week. Is this the car we're going to continue to see in the playoffs?
1.6 seconds back for Cole Custer. Ryan Blaney was able to have a great restart. Jumped out in front of Kyle Larson and Cole Custer. Eric Jones followed behind Blaney. So now it's Blaney and Jones 1 and 2. Kyle Larson running 3rd. Cole Custer is 4th, and Justin Allgaier is running 5th. Behind them, Sadler, Austin Dillon, Daniel Suarez, Ryan Reed, Ty Dillon. They make up the top 10. Hemrick just outside of the top 10, running 11th.
You mentioned that great restart by Ryan Blaney. Well, that is certainly what got him the lead. And watch what he does. He just pushes Kyle Larson, does a great job of pushing, stays contact, clears himself now. He can go anywhere he wants to go. There's nobody beside him. Continues to have contact, and the 42 just cannot keep it on the bottom of the racetrack. Ryan Blaney aggressive, pushing him down into turn 1.
Yeah, the 42 is lucky he slid up far enough that the 00 didn't have a 3rd lane, Rick. Or I'm thinking we might have saw 3 wide for the win, or for the lead.
3 wide, and somebody would have had to have backed out of that.
But you think about it, that's a lot how Kyle Larson won the race against Martin Truex a few weeks ago, where he actually pushed Truex. It looked a lot. It looked very similar to that.
So Blaney now out front has over a 1 second lead over Eric Jones. Kyle Larson, Cole Custer, Justin Allgaier, the top 5.
And Rick, we haven't been talking a lot about those bubble drivers because it hasn't moved around much. Currently, Brendan Gaughan is still 24 points ahead of Dakota Armstrong. None of those 3 drivers were able to score any points in the stages. So basically at this point, Dakota Armstrong is really going to have to get lucky here. He's currently running 19th, Brendan Gaughan in 20th. So they're all back there running together. It looks like the bubble is going to stay basically the same.
Fuel not an issue anymore, as there are just 37 laps to go, as Brendan Gaughan working his way around this 1.5-mile track. Problem is he's 2 laps down and currently scored 20th. You're watching coverage of thehouse.com 300 alongside Steve Letarte, Jeff Burton, Rick Allen, as tomorrow's lineup looks very impressive. Start in Singapore with F1. Make a stop here in Chicago for the Monster Energy Series racing from Chicagoland at 3 o'clock. First race of the playoffs, and then finish out your day with the championship run for the Verizon IndyCar Series. Double points from Sonoma. Take a look at the Monster Energy Series playoff leaderboard. These are the points that these drivers will start with.
Yeah, Rick, I'm going to tell you something I found very interesting in practice today. I can't pick a favorite. Based on this race and what we saw in practice, I thought Truex, Larson, Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, I thought there was about 6 guys running pretty close to the same speed. It's going to be interesting to see who can make the changes tonight to make the car a little bit better than the rest.
Well, so much has been made about playoff points. The ones at the top do have an advantage, but down at the bottom, 8 through 12, they're basically all tied up in a big knot. 4 of those drivers in 3 weeks, Rick, their playoff hopes are over. So it starts tomorrow here in Chicago.
I want to take a look at today's Toyota driver update as we ride along. A close call there for Eric Jones. Eric Jones currently running in the 2nd spot. He's 1.4 seconds behind Ryan Blaney, Suarez Tift, and Dakota Armstrong.
I think Eric Jones right there was wondering what that lap car was doing. I thought he was going to give him the bottom, and turns out it wasn't quite that clear.
And Jones, the gap between himself and Blaney is 1.8 seconds.
And that was a costly lap. We were riding on board. You saw how traffic affected him. Well, that was about 0.4 of a second off when he had normally been running. So think about that. Almost a half a second lost with one car.
We saw how Cole Custer was trying to hold off the 42 of Kyle Larson earlier.
I'm sorry. I'm always interrupting you. I'm sorry.
All right.
One thing I'm watching that's very interesting, the 9 car of Byron, he has had trouble. Mechanical issue, 33rd. Look where he's running. We talked about Homestead, Miami, getting ready for that race. This racetrack, very similar, not completely similar, but a little bit similar to Homestead, Miami. And where do you run there? You run right against the wall. So as you watch the 9 car, that's what he's doing. He's got his right side right against the wall. Is he using this race to try to get better so that if he moves to Homestead, he's got a little bit of experience?
Well, and Jeff, I had that conversation with Williams crew chief David Ellens, and while yes, this is a similar track, he said, as far as the track surface and the roughness of it, he said running that high line isn't necessarily required here at all times. Obviously, you can move around a bit more. So while this is good prep, they're also looking ahead to the race at Kansas to really help get William acclimated to running that high line on a consistent basis, which could help him when they come around to Homestead, Miami, if they're still in the championship hunt at that point. Remember, they're 18 laps down after replacing that transmission. Since then, everything has been good in the 9 car. At one point, William just asking, hey, am I allowed to race these other guys on track? I think the response was, yep, go ahead and race them. And they told him which cars to be careful around. It was all those cars still fighting for a spot in the playoffs.
Yeah, 18 laps down, that's smart. But also looking ahead to Kansas, these tracks were built about the same time, Chicagoland and Kansas, and they were considered sister tracks to each other.
Yeah, this track is much older asphalt, though, than Kansas. They look the same, but they don't drive the same.
Kansas since has had a repave. Kyle Larson, after the restart when he was up front, now is currently running in the 3rd position. Dave.
Not quite 2 seconds behind second place Eric Jones, and this was the discussion on their radio.
Just looks too tight landing, getting to the center, but I mean, I think we'll be fine once everything starts wearing out. It's kind of like yesterday, we just didn't have that firearm speed, but we had good long run speed.
Feel like before the race is over, 25 to go now, that they will be there. Some work to do. Running in 3rd, Larson.
Well, I do agree that the 42 has shown good long run speed, but unfortunately with 24 to go and little over 3 seconds back, Blaney's car is good on the long runs as well. He actually still is consistently matching the lap times of Kyle Larson. So even though Larson's car does improve on the long run, the leader of the 22 of Ryan Blaney also is doing the same.
That's the gap between 42 and the 22. And again, Blaney now has a 1.9 second lead over Eric Jones.
And Rick, I think this is something that needs to be discussed. Ryan Blaney is putting together one of the best Xfinity seasons we have ever seen. While he doesn't have a tremendous amount of starts, what he is doing is right on the borderline of history. Look at the best average finish. Look who he's around. Mark Martin at 2.2 back in 2013 starts. He's the best. Mark Martin is like Mr. Xfinity Series. Jeff, you chased him for years. You've seen how impressive he's run. And look who else is on there. Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch. So if Ryan Blaney can keep up this torrid pace of top 2 finishes, he could put his name next to or perhaps in front of Mark Martin.
Anytime you can put your name with Mark Martin, you're doing pretty good.
Absolutely.
Hall of Famer.
Elusive category, isn't it, guys, when you're talking about Mark Martin in the Xfinity Series and what he's been able to do with Brian Wilson as well this year. They led the most laps together at Charlotte, won there. The last race, Kentucky, they finished 2nd, so they're trying to add another win to the category. Of course, Brian Wilson is his crew chief today because Greg Irwin is not here, and a caution on the racetrack. That might change things, right?
Daniel Suarez in the 18 sliding just at the entrance to pit road. And around he goes. Question is, what happened? 21 to go. Look at that slide. He was already in through the middle of the turn.
It's a nice job. When he corrected it, shot up the racetrack, Jeff, I think the option was spin out or hit the outside wall. He chose the lesser of the 2 evils, spun to the bottom of the racetrack.
Yeah, the guys behind him, they were certainly hoping he was going to stay on the bottom of the racetrack.
And guys, he did say the vibration just before that was back as we ride on board with Elliott Sadler in his view.
There you go. You saw how loose he was on corner entry, and Elliott knew he was in trouble. Yeah, He got so loose and then turned the wheel right, got at the racetrack, and then immediately said, I'm in trouble, and spun the car out.
When you slide sideways for that long, you're going to tear up one of these Goodyear tires.
All right, 20 to go. There's no doubt in my mind all the leaders will be on pit road. Now it's going to come down to execution on pit road. We've seen the 42 have a good stop, have a slow stop. The 22 of Ryan Blaney has been pretty solid all day. Pit stops and restarts.
Cole Custer, how will he do? Eric Jones, winner of stage 1 and stage 2. How will that crew do?
And some things are out of your control, like who's behind you. You know, we saw Ryan Blaney. He just did a great job of pushing the restart before. Well, you can't control who's behind you. You can pick the right lane if you're the leader, but short of that, it's out of your control. Pits are still closed. There's a cleanup truck at the entrance of pit road, so they keep pit road closed.
Making sure there's no debris off that 18 that had fallen onto the track right there. Our aerial coverage provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods. It's been a gorgeous afternoon here in Joliet at Chicagoland Speedway. Eric Jones led 92 laps early in this race. 3 times he was out front. Cole Custer has led 40 laps. Ryan Blaney was out front for 27. Kyle Larson for 22. Elliott Sadler is the regular season champion for the Xfinity Series. Will receive 15 playoff points at the end of today's race. That will put him right near the top as far as the rankings when the playoffs begin.
Rick, each and every week we talk about the NBC Pit Crew All-Stars, and this is why. Because it takes a team. We like to recognize people on pit road and show everyone who they are with the helmets off and let them know their story, because in the end, Jeff, anytime we see a late caution, it comes down to pit stops. Think of last week at Richmond, the 78 loses that race to the 42 on pit road. Well, here it is, 19 to go, coming to 18 to go in the Xfinity race, and this race could easily be determined on pit road.
Can't make mistakes. Can't speed.
We've seen a lot of speeding today too, Rick. That's you, as soon as you said that, I mean, a lot of speeding penalties. Eric Jones, that's right, no tack.
Let's go to Dave.
And for that reason, they consider this caution very untimely. He's got to come down pit road one more time, just trying to figure out how not to speed. 4 tires, got to free the car up, Kelly.
Elliott Sadler said he has the least amount of grip that he's had all day, so it was just way too tight, the one car, especially on exit. They're going to make an adjustment to free him up, Parker.
Cole Custer said that was his worst run of the day there. Just way too loose. It's going to be 4 Goodyear tires and a slight adjustment. Expect all these teams to add air pressure for the short run, Marty.
All day long, Ryan Blaney has been working on trying to get his car better in the short run. He told Brian Wilson, I love the way it took off last time. Very small air pressure adjustment, and you see them putting a piece of tape on the grill, but Blaney will lose the race off pit road. I believe it'll be Eric Jones who wins that race, Rick.
We take a look at the race off pit road. Eric Jones, Kyle Larson, Ryan Blaney. 1, 2, and 3 off of pit road, and this is how close it was. Half a car length between all 3 of them. Welcome back to the House.com 300 for the NASCAR Xfinity Series from Chicagoland Speedway. And we mentioned that on the pits, you can't make a mistake. And you touched a little bit on the Pit Crew All-Stars.
Yeah, and the 3 Pit Crew All-Stars this week, Tyler Rader, who's the gas man for the 27 Cup. Also on the Xfinity side, Liz Prestella, the tire specialist for the 37 Cup, and Chris Winchell, the front tire changer for the 43. Well, we mentioned Tyler. Well, he's double duty as well. He's Cup on the 27 and Xfinity on the 33. So he's one of the pit crew members that are jumping over pit wall performing today.
And there he is. There's Tyler, gas man for the 33.
Yeah, longtime crew member from West Virginia. Played football, which is not a big surprise if you see him in person. He looks like he's somebody that could play football.
Won the 2012 Orange Bowl.
Yeah, impressive. Winning the Orange Bowl in 2012. Making the transition to NASCAR. And I mentioned you couldn't make a mistake on pit road as far as the pit crew, but what if you're a driver and you make a mistake?
Well, this is very, very impressive because the 20 of Eric Jones, remember, Dave Burns reported earlier that he does not have a tach. There is no speedometer in these cars. The drivers use the tachometer to check pit road speed. So here he is. He pulls out of his pit stall, and he's going down with no one in front of him, no one to gauge his speed. So he's doing a very nice job. I don't know if it's just by a guess or by memory. He did not speed, won the race off pit road. The 42 who you saw trying to pass him, Rick? Too fast on pit road.
Speeding, exiting pit road. So the 42 of Kyle Larson, who was right there in contention, now with less than 16 laps to go, definitely in a hole. Kelly.
And look at the 16 car now running 6th. They've had a rough day to begin with, just loose, but they continue to plug away at this car, and now he's just outside the top 5. The team telling me this is like happy hour for the playoffs. Obviously, they wanted to go for the win, but more than anything, they said we've got to put together a solid race. The first round of the playoffs is all about not making mistakes, managing a race. They've done a good job of that today. At one point, he was back as far as 18th. Ryan Reed now in 6th for this restart.
2 Cup drivers up front, and then after that, it's a slew of Xfinity Series drivers right behind them as they come into the Geico restart zone. Green flag back in the air. Justin Allgaier all the way to the grass, making the pass for the lead on the inside. What a restart. And now the 20 and the 22 make contact. The 22 into the wall.
5, no caution.
Smoke rolling out from underneath the 22. A lot of tire rub there for Ryan Blaney. Allgaier out front. Elliott Sadler running second.
And think about this, 2 Xfinity regulars. Remember, we're not in the playoff yet. 5 playoff points on the line. Justin Allgaier trying to get another win this season, increase his playoff point total. Elliott Sadler in the 1 trying to find his first win of the season. Even though he was the regular season champ, he has not gone to victory lane. Points are important, but how about momentum? Momentum would be huge with the playoffs starting next week.
And these two teams, they run with each other every single race. Whenever you look up, they're racing against each other. Now they're racing for the win.
Austin Dillon in the 2 just behind him. Saw a little bit of smoke out of the 2. I don't know if that's tire rub or something else that was happening with Austin Dillon's car, but he's trying to give chase to these 2 as Allgaier out front under 13 laps to go. A lot of damage to the 22, Marty.
You see him trying to get that fender pulled out, Rick. Not a word from Ryan Blaney on the radio about what happened on the racetrack. Brian Wilson trying to guide the team, but a shot at the win out the window now for this 22 and Ryan Blaney.
And Steve, you had just talked about his average finish in the Xfinity Series was very impressive. Well, that will go down the drain today.
I wondered how long it was going to take to get off the bottom of the racetrack. The 7, I think, is still committed because he has the choice. Elliott Sadler, Jeff.
Around goes the 16. Ryan Reed sliding as he came out of turn 2. Caution comes out.
All right, you're good.
Always scary when driver's side door is facing the oncoming traffic as he came out of turn 2.
And running in the 5th position, Rick, was having a really nice run.
Let's take another look at what happened to Ryan Reed in the 16.
just underneath Bubba Wallace, and entered the corner. Didn't have any air on the side of his car. Got loose. The left front got on the apron because he was loose and just chasing up the racetrack and getting into the side of the 98.
11 to go. I mean, this is what happens. The 98 actually gave him quite a bit of room. You just see that big wiggle out of the 16. Darrell Wallace Jr., luckily or unluckily, the wall was there to save him, so he doesn't get spun around. The 16, though, not so fortunate. But let's go back to that crazy restart, Rick. This was a few laps after, so here it is. Very organized and very tight on the front row.
Yeah, so Allgaier had a choice. He could push or not, and he decided not to and turned left and used that apron like we talked about people being able to do, and cleared these guys. Now they're 3 wide, and 3 wide never seems to work. The 20 gets into the side of the 22. Cole Custer, minding his own business, having a good day. Now he's lost all his track position. So right there you see Eric just in the side of Blaney. Both cars heavy contact. See Elliott Sadler on the bottom. He's happy. It's exactly what he needed.
Happy wasn't anywhere near that. Parker.
Guys, Cole Custer, what a great run he'd been having all day until he got involved in that restart there with the 22 getting the back to him. They're going to put tires on here. These are actually scuffs. They're not new tires, but they felt like those tires there that were already on had been rubbed. And they need to put something else on there to not have a tire go down, Marty.
How about this for Brendan Poole and his team? They did not pit under the last caution because they used it to take the wave around. So these are sticker tires they're putting on. They're talking about taking their time here, making sure that the car has no damage on it. They're using a little bit of Bear Bond here on the right rear of the car, but these will be sticker tires. We'll see what that's worth on this final restart, what may be the final restart with about 6-7 laps to go here from Chicago. Could be interesting, boys.
Absolutely. Under 10 laps to go. Still a lot on the line for a number of drivers. As you mentioned, Steve, 5 playoff points if an Xfinity Series driver is able to win, which right now, Justin Allgaier and Elliott Sadler running 1 and 2.
Well, and even after all that contact, Eric Jones settled out in 4th place, and you have to wonder how much damage he has to his race car. You know, what kind of factor? He's obviously had one of the best cars today. But what kind of factory can he be? How much damage does he have?
Well, and this is the second restart in the row that we've seen someone from the second row end up the leader on the backstretch. So with these restricted engines that the Xfinity cars run, it's a little bit harder to get up to speed. The front row seems to be, I won't say a disadvantage, but twice now we've seen the car in 3rd being able to be the leader off turn 2.
And really we've seen that pushing on restarts migrate to the Cup Series as well. It started to become just a skill. You know, if you can push that guy in front of you, it's just a huge advantage to the 2 of you. So you're going to see another effort for sure.
Let's look a little deeper into the last 2 restarts. This was Ryan Blaney from 3rd place, pushing the 42 of Kyle Larson.
Well, he took a different approach. He pushed Kyle Larson out to the lead, cleared himself, as you said before, Jeff. Now he has options. He kind of just shoves the 42 off the bottom, and then the 22 easily goes by.
And then Allgaier, he got a really good start, and he had a decision to make, to push or not. See the 1 car get him a little shot. That got his momentum going forward. He turned left. Instead of pushing, turned left, and that got him the lead. So, again, even though Elliott Sadler wasn't in row 2, he was in row 3. That push from the 1 car is what propelled the 7 car to the lead.
Think about that. Elliott Sadler, 5th to 2nd. 3rd to 1st and 5th to 2nd on a restart.
A lot of chaos behind them then, as we see a lot of the repairs being done to these cars.
So now what lane? Jeff, if you're Justin Allgaier, do you want to be at the bottom and try to hold Austin Dillon back? Or do you feel you're better off being on the top and having Eric Jones behind you? Do you think he will commit to pushing you? I mean, what lane do the leaders need to pick now? Or the leader? It's really only up to Justin Allgaier.
Right.
Well, I've seen the leader choose the bottom the last 2 restarts and lose the lead. So it's difficult to make that decision again. This can be a no-win choice, right? It's a very difficult decision. Typically on a 1.5 miles, you pick the outside every single time. He's going to choose the bottom.
And so he's going against what would be a typical choice. Tonight, post-race, it'll be coming up next. We're going to hear from the drivers and what took place out on the track. And then this evening, it's IndyCar Series qualifying from Sonoma. The final qualifying run of the year for the IndyCar Series. IndyCar has a great battle building this weekend, and it's for the championship. 3 points separating right now Joseph Newgarden and Scott Dixon. But there are 7 drivers that are still mathematically in it and could potentially win the Verizon IndyCar Series championship.
And Newgarden trying to hold off a bunch of former Sonoma winners as well.
It'll be 7 laps unless it goes overtime, but 7 laps still to go when the green flag flies.
So guys, another factor that's different on this restart, they're not on stickers. These are scuffed tires. So these tires, they're not like full of grip. They have a few laps on them, not a lot, but they have a few, and they restart differently than stickers. So who's going to figure out how to use these scuffed tires, and do the strategies that worked before, do they work now because the tires are scuffs?
And so Justin Allgaier will start on the inside. Elliott Sadler will be on the outside in row 1. Behind them, Austin Dillon and Eric Jones coming back into the Geico restart zone. Great restart for Justin Allgaier. Eric Jones working that outside line. He'll take second away.
Well, you mentioned it. The 7 of Allgaier got a great start. Well, he's going to need it. Here comes Eric Jones. Already led 95 laps today, trying to go for the lead with 7 to go.
How about Daniel Hemrick in the 21 has moved his way up into the 3rd spot.
Restart violation in your mirrors.
Yeah, I think, look, Eric Jones, he made a very aggressive move. I'm not so sure he didn't change lanes before the start-finish line. And NASCAR's looking at it.
They're looking at a restart violation for the 20 of Eric Jones. You mentioned you cannot change lanes until you get to the start-finish line. We're going to take another look, but that's what they're claiming. The 20 of Eric Jones changed lanes before he got to the start-finish line.
So in Rick, in NASCAR racing, you cannot change lanes prior to the start-finish line, and clearly there it is. I mean, it's no arguing. I understand Eric Jones probably doesn't think he did because in the heat of the moment, but there it is in slow motion. It's pretty clear he changed lanes.
There's no way.
Well, I understand what he's saying, but he pulled out before the line. He was actually just to the outside bumper of the 1 car at the line. So now Justin Allgaier needs to somehow not focus on that 20. He's not the race. He needs to look all the way back to Daniel Hemrick. As you see now, the 20 pulls off. That gives the 7 of Justin Allgaier some breathing room. So now from here, it's 4 more laps for a win and 5 playoff points.
And remember, it's not you can't pass before the line. It's that you can't change lanes before the line.
And guys, the 20 crew chief, Chris Gabehart, told me it's been a scary, smooth weekend so far. We're just waiting for the anvil to fall. That was this morning. Well, it fell. Tachometer problems, as you see the change for second place there. That's Elliott Sadler taking it. And then the problem with the late caution that they thought was against them, and now the restart violation.
Junior Motorsports looking very strong with just 3 laps to go. Out in front, Justin Allgaier, Elliott Sadler running second. Allgaier earlier this year was able to get to victory lane after the Phoenix race. So it was Phoenix where he got his win and was able to lock in to the playoffs.
And we've talked about Justin Allgaier, Elliott Sadler, William Byron. Well, don't count out that 21 car of Daniel Hemrick. As of late, he has become a contender. We've seen him running in front of these races. So we don't think about him being a favorite for this championship, but with their runs lately, don't count him out.
Well, and I talked to Jason Burdett, crew chief for Justin Allgaier this morning, asked him how his car was. Pretty good. He was a little soft-spoken, fought a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but he emphasized that basically we just need to go out and race. These racers are so crazy. The restarts can be so crazy. Give ourselves a chance at the end. That's exactly what they've done, and he leads coming to the white flag.
This is a welcome sight. 1 to go. Sponsored by Credit One Bank. Justin Allgaier able to go across the start-finish line less than a mile and a half. Allgaier looking for his 5th career win in the Xfinity Series and the momentum that is going to propel him to a potential championship in the Xfinity Series. Justin Allgaier, after being relatively quiet throughout the major part of this race, is the loudest at the end. Justin Allgaier wins at Chicagoland.
is that? All these grand people, I hope they're ready to cause a party, because this is awesome.
Riverton, Illinois, hometown for Justin Allgaier. Chicagoland Speedway, considered his home track, and what better place to get a win at the end of the regular season than right here at home. And what a way to kick off the playoffs. Allgaier gets the win at Chicagoland. Elliott Sadler finishes third in this race, but wins the regular season. So Elliott Sadler, the champion of the 2017 regular season. Justin Allgaier wins at Chicagoland, gets the added playoff points, and both drivers will carry that momentum into the next race and the beginning of the playoffs.
And we have dueling burnouts.
And we have dueling burnouts. We saw some impressive restarts out of Justin Allgaier. One to get the lead, use the apron, bottom of the racetrack to steal the lead away. And then that last restart where he was in control, he dominated. And now he'll climb out of the number 7, and the crowd will roar. Little fist bump there for Allgaier and the flagman. And Rutledge Wood has made it there as well.
Guys, unbelievable. The hometown kid, Justin Allgaier from Riverton, Illinois, brings home the win today. How in the world did you do that, the dive for the grass?
I have no idea, man. First of all, huge thanks to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. This is, it's incredible, man. I've been fortunate enough to go to victory lane here before, but it was on fuel mileage. And today, these guys did an awesome job. I can't thank everybody at Junior Motorsports enough. My team, the 7 team, did a great job. To have the branch stretch, to have all those folks down there in turn 3 and 4 and up here in the grandstands, there's nothing cooler than winning at home. And you fans, you guys are awesome. Hopefully everybody at home had a great time watching it, man. That was a lot of fun.
We'll see you in victory lane, buddy. Congrats.
Buddy, appreciate it. I got some grass to destroy right now because Brant's in the agriculture industry. They fix turf, so I'm going to destroy some grass.
Get after it, buddy. Justin Allgaier, everybody.
And right now, the people that take care of Chicagoland Speedway and the infield grass here are going, no, we still have a race tomorrow. Don't tear up the grass. But I think Allgaier wants to do a little burnout maybe in the grass. But Elliott Sadler, part of the same organization, Junior Motorsports. Both teams are able to celebrate at the end of this one. Elliott Sadler, regular season champion. Justin Allgaier, the winner at Chicagoland. Next Saturday, the first race of the Xfinity Series playoffs is on NBCSN, live from Kentucky. That race coverage will begin at 8 p.m. Eastern. Allgaier making his way to victory lane. And he stops because his friend and teammate Elliott Sadler want to congratulate him on the win. Elliott Sadler, the regular season champion, and he's standing by now with Marty.
Well, it's time to present some hardware for the regular season championship. I'll let Steve O'Donnell, the NASCAR's Executive Vice President and Chief Racing Development Officer, do the honors. Steve.
So Elliott, Kevin, you guys led the series all year with top 5s, top 10s, another great run here today. And on behalf of all of us at NASCAR, the One Main Financial Team, Chevrolet, congrats on being the first ever NASCAR Xfinity Series regular champion. Good luck in the playoffs. Looking forward to see what you guys can do. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Elliott.
That's pretty cool to be the first ever regular season champion for NASCAR and Xfinity Series. Thanks to those guys and everything they do for us to put on such a great series for us at all the tracks we get to go to. And we have so many people here from One Main Financial to celebrate with us today. And I wanted to be hoggish and get both trophies, but Justin did a really good job on that last restart, and we come up a little short. But it's very humbling to be the first one, and it all goes to Kevin and all these guys behind us on this team. They work so hard to put us in this position, and this goes to them.
I know the playoffs are ahead, but how tough is it to encapsulate and explain to the fans at home all the work that goes into February to right now to get this regular season championship trophy?
Well, it's a lot that goes into it. These guys work day in and day out. Nobody works harder than Junior Motorsports, in my opinion, in this series, and it tells me in the top 3 in points. So, we got some really good cars. We've got a lot of momentum on our side here the last couple of months. I feel like we're primed and ready to go into the playoffs, and we got a lot of our partners here with us today to help kick us off into a great start next week in Kentucky. But I can't thank Kevin and his guys enough, the hard work they put in to this program to make sure we got good cars and we got a good enough chance to win the championship. I really, truly believe in our heart that we're one of the favorites going to Homestead, and I can't wait to get there.
To today's race, that next to last restart, you pushed your teammate out there. Were you thinking, I got a shot to beat him and win this thing?
Yeah, that's what it's all about. We always work good together, and I felt like I had a chance to run him down to the last caution, and we were running second there. And then in the last restart, Justin got a great restart, and I missed mine a little. And then the 20 made us 3 wide way before we got to start-finish line. So it was kind of stacked against us. But all in all, it was great racing. We made good adjustments all day, stayed out of trouble. Another top 3 finish, and we'll take it and move on.
Inaugural champion for the NASCAR Xfinity Series in the regular season. No one can take that away from Elliott Sadler. Nice effort this season. But now the real business gets going, Rick. Playoffs start next week at Kentucky.
Absolutely. And let's take a look at the playoff leaderboard for the Xfinity Series. William Byron, Justin Allgaier, Elliott Sadler separated by 5 points when that race starts.
Well, you see how important that win was to Justin Allgaier, those 5 playoff points, and you add it all up. Junior Motorsports 1, 2, 3, and have a little head start over Daniel Hemrick in the 4th position.
It's going to be interesting to see Daniel Hemrick, if he can carry that momentum that he's been able to build in these last few races, what he can do. And there's Cole Custer, Nate. We've seen how good he is in these mile and a halves. Can he step up?
And again, Justin Allgaier second on the playoff leaderboard, but first in victory lane. Let's go back there.
Justin Allgaier climbing out here in victory lane, guys. Lots of brand people here. Gatorade shower, confetti. The hometown hero right here for Justin Allgaier. Hometown win. A hug, Mr. Brandt right there. Justin, can I grab you for a second? I wasn't surprised to see you have 2 great restarts, such aggressive restarts, because you told me going in this, you wanted those 5 playoff points.
I wanted them really bad, but this right here is all about this team. I told you after practice we didn't feel like we had the best car, but these guys persevered throughout the course of the day, and I said it out on the racetrack, Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, man, coming down to the end, I didn't think we had a shot. I thought we were going to be top 5, maybe. Those late race restarts, we got great restarts. TJ did a great job on the box. I can't thank everybody at our race shop enough. Junior Motorsports, obviously, Brand Fresh Agriculture. So awesome to have 4H and FFA on the car as well. Hellman's Degree, Suave, Briars, Valvoline, Advanced Auto Parts, Cessna, Exalta, Northeastern Supply Goodies, the Hendrick Engine Shop. Just these Camaros, man, they're awesome. And we've got a great shot to go to victory lane a lot during this playoffs. We got a lot of good momentum. and man, we want to go to Homestead and pull home this championship. So hopefully all the fans at home enjoyed it. From inside the driver's seat, it was a lot of fun, and hopefully you were tuned into your Xfinity X1 service to watch this thing today.
What a statement made by this 17, Dave.
So for Kyle Larson, a bit of an up and down day, but then to come home second, Kyle, after leading, how would you assess the afternoon?
Yeah, I was really, really loose all day. I could get tight at the end of the runs, but was way too loose to run the top, and got myself in trouble a couple times. I think entering on the seam or something, I lost it. Got in the wall, we had some damage there, and I don't know if that made us looser throughout the rest of the day, but they fixed it the best they could, but I was still extremely loose. So had probably a third or fourth place car. I thought the 20 and 22 were better than I was. The 00 was really good. Cole did an awesome job. That was a lot of fun racing him. And then, yeah, I got that speeding penalty there late. So I hate that I did that because, it got pretty crazy there. And maybe we would have had a shot like the 7 did. But come back from a speeding penalty to finish second after restarting 11th, I think, on that last restart is pretty decent.
Did you know that the 20 didn't have the tachometer? Were you trying to press him when you sped?
Oh yeah, I didn't know that he didn't have a tachometer. I thought it was kind of odd that he was going really slow. So I was flashing the red on my tack, which I had all day. But you never really know how close you are until you get in trouble. And I was only a hundredth too fast. So hate that I screwed up that on pit road.
Fourth place finish for Daniel Hemrick. That now makes 3 top 5s in the last 6 races. It looked like you had a sniff at the lead there, that final restart. What more did you need?
At the end of the day, we just didn't have quite what we needed, but man, we had so much heart. We didn't have a very good race car, and Danny Stockton did a great job making it better and better, and we kind of heard it there towards the middle stages of the race, and luckily that last caution came out, allowed us to get that adjustment back out of it, and Blue Gate Bank Chevy came back somewhat to life, and those opportunities on the restarts allowed us to keep making strides, and we did what we could today. We probably overachieved what we had as a group, and I'm proud of that, and we'll head to the playoffs.
Well, that stat I just mentioned, 3 top 5s in the last handful of races. How would you describe this team as you head into the playoffs?
We're strong. Heart is probably the biggest thing I can say. We may not have the fastest race cars, but it's not a testament to how much hard work goes on back at the shop, and these guys are busting their tails to make our cars better, and we're doing everything we can every week to make them better throughout the races, and that's what it's all about, and we'll keep riding that momentum.
Great job.
Thank you.
Rarely would I suggest that a 13th place finish is a win. Today might be that day. How much did you overcome?
To forget the playoff thing, we were 3 laps down. I was holding on for dear life for that one stint, and Shane and the boys, man, we don't quit. Shane and I have been together so long, we don't stop. Doesn't matter what the situation is. Be courteous. I let God, don't hold people up. Just kind of run in a spot and be nice. But man, we don't quit. You don't ever stop. You keep fighting. And hell, 5 more laps, we got a top 10 in this thing, man. It was awesome. South Boy Chevy, what a comeback. That was so much fun to come back like that.
So do you even have in perspective what that does sending you into the playoffs, or is it such a one-off that, gosh, you got to sit down and think about that?
Well, the main thing is you look at, it was a very good Chevrolet. You got the 2 car in 5th, the 3 car in 8th, the 11 in 9th, and we were that good. I mean, I was able to pass and run. I was in front of the 98. I could run with them all day. Ran with the 3 most of the day, the 11. So, I mean, we know we're fast. We can make noise in the playoffs, but now we're in the playoffs, so that's what's the important part.
In the playoffs, locked in, and showed that they've got some speed, even with all the adversity.
Thanks, Dave. That's what everyone was hoping for here, as Harper Grace is going to help her dad put that win sticker on the side of the car in victory lane. Justin Allgaier winning at Chicagoland. Much more. Stay with us.
NBCSN brings you 3 big races on one day, from F1 Spectacular Night Race to the first NASCAR playoff race to the IndyCar Championship. Don't miss a second of the action. Tomorrow on NBCSN.
A very big day from Singapore to Sonoma. And don't forget about that stop right here in the middle, Chicagoland, for the first race of the playoffs. Dave.
Well, we all know that 7th place is not what Cole Custer wanted today, but we saw some good racing and we saw some spunk out of you. How would you assess the day?
Yeah, I thought it was a great day for us. I mean, we didn't get the finish that we wanted, but our Haas Animation Mustang was unreal. I mean, it was really fast. I mean, the top 4, I'd say, were definitely in a league of their own. And we just kind of all gave it away right there. But I think we were really good today. Just wish just kind of had nowhere to go there at the end. But everybody at the shop has been working really hard, and this is definitely, we brought something a little bit different, and this definitely paid off.
The dicing with the 42, that was interesting to me because sometimes it looked like you were on offense, but you were on defense too. Were you learning from Kyle, or were you showing him, hey, here's how it's going to be?
I was definitely a mix, I definitely say. It was definitely, I knew what I wanted to do, but there was times where I had to kind of protect and kind of defend what he was doing. So it was definitely fun racing. Felt like it was pretty clean. So it was definitely one of the most fun times I've ever had in a stock car. And
your playoff outlook heading to Kentucky next week?
I'm looking forward to it. I think we found a lot of good stuff this weekend, and we were good the whole weekend. So I think we needed this momentum going in the chase, and I think we'll be able to run this good all year.
Yep. Sounds like Cole will be heard from in the playoffs.
Well, for Brendan Poole, he was able to put stickers on that final caution. Did you think it was going to make a huge difference?
I thought it would give me an advantage, but we were just fighting from behind all day. We struggled with a really loose race car, and we made some big swings trying to get it to where we needed to be, and it was still loose. Bounced off the wall a couple times and just really hurt our day. And then, of course, I sped on pit road, so just kind of put us behind. And at the end, we finally fought and got back on the lead lap and had some tires and tried to make the most of them. So I'm just proud of everyone for never giving up and fighting hard and getting back to 11th. But just got to put it behind us and move on to the playoffs. It's been really good over these past 2 months. So I'm really looking forward to what we're going to be able to do in these playoffs.
The attention does shift to the playoffs now. How do you feel like your strengths are? Where are your strengths? And where are the weaknesses right now that need to get better for the 48 team?
Well, I got to stop speeding on pit road for one.
He did that last week, too.
I know, but, I don't know. We've seemed to have really good speed in our race cars, and so I'm excited about that. I'm excited about some of the mile-and-a-half races coming up that, tend to be my better mile-and-a-halves. I'm looking forward to going to Dover. We ran really good, had a lot of speed there earlier in the year, and then we ran really good at Bristol not too long ago. So these first string of tracks are really good for us, so I really feel like we can come out strong and capitalize and put ourselves in a strong position headed into Homestead.
Brendan Poole rallies for an 11th place finish today here in Chicago.
Well, it wasn't quite the day William Byron and this 9 team were looking for. You had to change transmissions early in this one, but you still got the majority of the laps in. So what was gained? What did you learn out there today?
Yeah, we probably just pretty much just ran against the wall the whole race to try to figure that out, hopefully for Homestead. So was unfortunate, broke our transmission early, but guys worked hard to get it changed, and good job to everyone at Junior Motorsports to get a win for Justin. So that's cool, and we'll take the momentum and go to Kentucky and hopefully have a really fast car there.
Yeah, for you could use some momentum because it was kind of a rough month with all the road courses and, of course, the mechanical issue today. But does this team have it in it to turn things around next week?
Yeah, I think so, for sure. We've been strong in the last couple of weeks. We've kind of qualified 5th or 6th and ran 5th or 6th. So I need a little bit more than that in the playoffs, but I feel like we're going to have that once we get to some of these stronger racetracks for us. So we're looking forward to it.
Thank you, William.
Thank you.
So Matt Tifft, 6th today after everything you were going through out there. You happy with that?
Yeah, I think so. It's a good top 10 for us for sure. We needed this on a mile and a half. We haven't run the greatest on these tracks yet, so we had a decent day all day. Just kind of tried to stay ahead of the craziness there going on at the end. But we need to pick up a little bit more speed. But it was cool having the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on the car this weekend, the American Brain Tumor Association. So happy to have all those kids out here this weekend. And this is a good weekend for us to finish a race strong. So if we can keep doing this every weekend through the playoffs, it's going to work out well for us.
I was kind of wondering about that. How does that set you up now, especially with all the mile and a halves in the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously mile and a half heavy, so you got to be good on these tracks, and this place is a bumpy place. It's fun to drive here at Chicago, so we got to be able to run, that 5th to 6th place area. We ran around 9th, 10th all day today. We got to kind of run where we finished the race today, and that way we're competing for wins when things happen at the end. So that's where we need to improve just a little bit, but man, we're a lot closer than we've been.
Biggest challenge for you in the first 3 tracks of round 1, the first 3 tracks?
You know, I'm not totally sure. I will say that I love going to Dover, so I think that's the one I kind of got circled on the schedule there. So I think the first round is great for us. The second round has a few more challenging tracks for us, so I'm looking forward to getting it started and getting this Camry through the playoffs.
A little momentum for Matt starting out the playoffs.
Ryan Reed finished this one 17th, but you looked much better than that. This team, I know, made a lot of adjustments to get you back inside the top 10, a sniff of the top 5. What happened, though, on that restart when you ended up spinning out?
Yeah, you saw, I don't know exactly who wrecked up there in turn 2, but the 22 was involved, and it looked like a couple other, maybe the 20. And we were, sitting pretty after that. We got up inside the top 5, I believe, and 98, and I got to racing, and I crossed him back up in 3 and 4. And we all but had him cleared getting into 1, and he grabbed my quarter panel and got on our door pretty hard getting into turn 1. And when you do that, it was loose as soon as I turned off the wall, and I was just trying to save it. I mean, I wasn't at that point. It wasn't trying to race. It was just trying not to wreck, and obviously slid up the track and slid up into him. So it's just a tough deal. I think you saw it with the leaders getting off of 2. You got a lot of talent up there, and when someone's on your door like that, it's just tough to do, especially when you're racing inside the top 5. It's tough to give up a spot like that. So. The good news is we're in the playoffs. We're really excited about that. Our Lilly Diabetes Ford Mustang showed some speed today, which is really great going into the playoffs. Gives us some confidence and something to build off of.
It's the first true intermediate track we've been to here at Chicago in quite some time. So what was the takeaway? You're going to face a lot of these in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I think the takeaway was we have some speed. We have to get the balance right. So kind of up and down. We started off the race really loose, which I don't think is all that uncommon for us. A mile and a half, that's happened to us a decent amount. So we've just kind of got to clean it up a little bit, and I think we probably have enough speed to get into the next round after, I think, Charlotte, and then from there we're just gonna have to find more speed. So I think that, like I said, I think we have enough speed to go race with those guys and get us past Charlotte, but after that we'll have to dig deep and find something.
Everybody will be looking for something when the playoffs start next week, but tomorrow the Monster Energy Cup Series starts. We'll talk about it when we come back.